Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. So today we have with us Godless Sewing.
How's everybody doing? How's it going?
The Lavender Lady.
Hey! Hi,
And today is Penguin Appreciation Day, the day we give thanks to the noble birds who work day and night to guard the ice wall from the flesh.
Such brave penguins. They must be remembered. I love that. Boy. When I saw your thumbnail, I laughed out loud. I love your thumbnail.
Well, that was just an image I found searching Google.
Awesome. Does somebody legitimately believe that they're... I can't say without... I'm trying not to get the giggles. Does somebody legitimately believe that there are penguins guarding the ice wall on the flat Earth?
Well, I'll tell you.
Hans Wormhat thinks that penguins don't exist and they're all animatronic.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, look, if you got people like Greg Locke walking this planet, I figure, just about anything is possible.
Oh, it's one of those things. That's insane.
So let's see who we've got in the side chat here. We've got Nerdy Rodent, Nikki Daly, Ricardo Oliver, Major Grey Wolf, Greg Hartwick, who keeps sending me money for doing this, so appreciate that.
Awesome.
Oh man, you're good. You're a good guy.
Lavender Lady has also been subscribed to me on Patreon now.
My pleasure, hon.
And Mikey Fanton, who is Neil's producer and runs the Bin podcast, is also a Patreon now.
Awesome.
Oh my.
So, yeah, basically over the course of a year, they'll have sent me about enough to pay for StreamYards.
Awesome.
Okay.
Sorry,
it works.
I was delayed hanging out with Dave's inauguration stream.
Awesome.
Oh, okay.
Trump's gone. Fucker.
So it's safe to start watching the news again, or what? I haven't watched American news in almost 4.5 years. I know more about what's going on in the UK and Australia than in America right now.
Well, I mean, please don't jump all over me for being pessimistic or anything like that. But I mean, Trump may be gone, but the problem hasn't disappeared yet. We've all got to work together.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
Why? You should have listened to the inauguration speech.
I did.
Oh.
Yeah, he was going on and on about
for it. Said unity. I'm absolutely loaded.
What I didn't like, and of course that's just me not liking it, the whole invocation thing, the whole prayer thing, the whole God thing coming up, especially what's his name, the AME pastor, as people of faith gather, and I tweeted out, all right, as people of faith gather, what about the rest of us?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Are we not Americans? I mean,
no, but we're only 10% or less. So,
I mean, one thing I did like about Obama is that once or twice he actually recognized that we do exist. So
I was having this conversation with Jen. I think Obama is an atheist and just can't see it still to this day for political reasons.
I don't know. It could be possible.
I think there's quite a few atheists in Washington.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it at all.
I think I have to stand behind what you just said. I saw him with a group of a dozen AME church pastors, which of course are all black churches.
Yeah.
And that's the vibe I got, that he was there because he had to be, not because he was some deeply religious dude.
Yeah, because you say publicly, "I am an atheist." Your boat is sunk.
In this country, yeah. In America.
I understand that. Yeah. In America,
yeah. That's Obama, of course, was requiring a lot on the support of the black voting bloc.
And the black voting bloc is very religious. If he said he was
an atheist and lost all the Southern Baptists, that would be a big problem.
A big problem. Even people who aren't
Trump started big into the religious freaks, and there's nobody further away from religion than Donald Trump.
That's why every time he picked up a Bible or did any of that, it made me physically ill. Mm-hmm. Because even as an atheist, I knew he was just lying. Straight out.
I couldn't get these pastors who were saying he was ordained by God when obviously he didn't give a shit about God. He knew nothing about the religion.
Yeah.
At all.
Right.
Nothing at all.
That's our Donnie.
Yeah. What I want to know is what he's doing right now. Is he quickly packing to flee the country?
We figured in the other chat that he was trying to soothe himself emotionally by eating a stack of Big Macs.
I was just about to say he's sadly sitting in a McDonald's somewhere, looking out the window, just eating McDonald's with no mask on.
I mean, I'm surprised that he was in country this morning. I really was.
He had made a couple of plans to try and leave yesterday, but he couldn't find a country who would take him in.
Yeah, Britain said, "Get the hell out of here."
Yeah, the same thing. He had scheduled an Air Force plane that was supposed to be landing in Scotland last night.
I knew about that one, yeah.
And the Prime Minister of Scotland said that we don't consider this essential travel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the perfect answer.
If that doesn't scream complete traitor, and he's scared of going to prison.
Oh yeah,
and he will be impeached with it. Well, they will finish.
He has been impeached. Yeah.
They will finish the impeachment.
I think the Senate's going to convict.
I do too.
Well, it's a new Senate, so it's not entirely the old group. Because the new senators take office. Was it today or was it on the 3rd? I'm confused.
That's what I was trying to find out. I didn't think. Well, two things. I didn't think the senators were sworn in the same day, and also, the Georgia thing. They might still do a recount, so they can't swear in the new senators until all the recounts are done with.
What a mess.
Because they were supposed to have been sworn in today by Kamala Harris. Yeah.
Yeah, the recount opportunities are over. They have to do those within a certain amount of time.
I'm over all of this voter fraud and recount crap. They lost and they just can't. The people who claim to be the toughest whined the most and cried the most and were the biggest snowflakes.
We are not.
Are you a Trumper?
As far as
in the wrong room.
The Georgia runout, the margin was pretty slim. So I understand, a lot of states have an automatic recount if it's less than a 1% thing. So I don't grudge them doing their normal process for a recount that would have been done at any other time.
Georgia's a 0.5%.
Wow.
That was close. I'm still over it. I'm ready to move on. I'm completely over it.
And are we all?
Wait a minute. Okay, 21 hours ago from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The headline
Republicans want to move on and pretend like nothing happened this month.
That they didn't try to destroy America?
Yeah, but from the Journal-Constitution, the headline reads, Kraken back on its leash. Georgia election lawsuit withdrawn. That's Dateline yesterday. So I don't know if
good.
What else there is to take care of. Are they still committed? I take it they're still committed to the recount, right?
Let him
I thought it was an automatic thing that they had to do. I thought it was just what the legislature, what the law said they need to do if there's less than 1% difference.
See, but that's what happens when you constantly undermine something. We start doubting it. Our system works. It's just Trump trashed it so much people don't think it works anymore. We've had this in place for a long time. And when something goes wrong, we improve on it the next election, you know?
And I've heard from a number of sources that their assessment of the situation is that is the actual goal of the fascists, not necessarily to overturn anything, but to instill doubt in the process.
Yeah. Well, and after that infamous phone call, the U.S. Attorney General for Georgia resigned.
Okay.
Because Trump was trying to pressure him to find more votes, and he didn't want to have any part in it.
Trump reached a point of insanity where I was just waiting for this day. So regardless, I'm glad that we're here, regardless of politics, regardless of what's going to happen in the future. I'm glad that we made it to today, because I don't. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I don't think people realize what would happen if Trump was able to continue on his fascist path.
Okay, I stand corrected. Georgia does not have automatic recounts.
I was just about to cite that from Ricardo. Yeah, okay.
We dodged a bullet with Trump. We dodged a real...
Oh, absolutely. And the darn thing is that the gun is not holstered yet. It's, it's still there and it's still loaded.
But what we did prove ourselves is the system works.
Yeah, just because I couldn't deal with it, I didn't watch any news yesterday.
It could still work better, but
yeah, that's my whole point. Is that that was what Trump did. Instead of, he didn't do anything. All of his policies, everything were only for big business, So his whole distraction tactics was to trash the system, kick out the press, tell the press, oh, you guys are lying. It's fake news. I'm ready just to get back to work. and for the gears to start working again. Because of Trump, they cut social services here in California for people with special needs because the money wasn't there. Because they cut federal aid,
Well, and
federal aid in California because it's California and it's liberal.
Yeah, though he punished California as much as he could.
Oh yes,
anything he could. He defunded and defrauded everything he could.
Well, no, unfortunately, it wasn't just Trump. It was a lot of the Republican Party, and there's still a good number of them in Congress. So we're not going to see that stopping immediately.
Yeah,
one thing I am happy about is that we're going to have a new Senate Majority Leader.
Yeah, that's going to be a big difference.
I'm overjoyed about that. I will admit it. I'm usually very cynical about the political process, but this one makes me happy.
Yeah. Do we have any idea who it's going to be?
You're still awake.
Yeah, Jenny, were you citing Greg, or I didn't quite?
I was just wondering if any of us have an idea of who the new Senate Majority Leader is going to be.
I'm fairly certain that it's going to be Schumer.
Oh, well, okay.
Hey, it's not Turtle Man.
I was just about to say.
Tired of the old guard.
I know. I have to constantly chide myself where I'm wanting more. I'm wanting something reasonable that works and everything else. And I understand, and I've been told many times that baby steps, and it's like, I guess that's all I can expect.
Yeah, I want to get up and run one day.
The thing we got to remember, and a lot of people don't even think about, is that your Senate leader, your House leader. I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi much at all, but
neither am I.
She's also well known as one of the finest parliamentarians and tacticians that's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of person you want in those positions.
Yeah, really,
that's you like necessarily like so.
Yeah, now it's going to be a question that the Democrats are under a lot of pressure to show immediate results.
Yes, and that's not going to be easy because the number of letters D sitting in the House may be a split. But when you look at it practically, non-Republicans do not have a majority in the House. I mean, for example, Manchin is a Democrat in name only. Sorry. The West Virginia senator.
Oh, and he'll agree with you on that.
Yeah, so it's really 51-49 at the very least, and there are a couple more. I heard more dinos in there.
I heard Manchin talking last week, specifically about the split in his particular position, and he definitely sounded like he was very interested in voting with Democrats as often as he possibly could. Just
what the hell happened? Did he get hit in the head?
So fucked.
Well, no, big change that we have from the beginning of the month is there is a very visible schism in the Republican Party now.
Absolutely.
So they are not all unified as they used to be.
Because some have gone.
So there's a much greater chance for a percentage of them to be crossing over and voting with the Democrats on some issues.
That would be kind of nice.
Certain Republicans have gone full amosexual and have lost their minds.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they're still towing the Trump line because it wins in their little counties and their little areas, But people like me are sick of it, I'm sick of it.
I think the best thing
You're not the only one.
The new Democratic majority could do would be to pick a highly liberal bill and ram it through, and get it over with so that they can bitch about something that the liberals are doing, and as a major distraction to get other things done that have to get done.
Yeah.
And the bill I'm thinking of is the equal rights for LGBT folks.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking there might be something more needed, perhaps a Medicare for all.
That's coming.
No. That's a months and months and months and years long argument. I'm talking something that can pass now, that they can sign.
Well, what I'm speaking of is something that's people out there want. I mean, you can pass something easy, but if it's something that they don't care about, then as far as they're concerned,
I'm talking about playing the game that the Republicans have played so successfully. Is pass something that achieves what they want as a party, but it's also such a big distraction. They can go back and be doing all the other things they want to do that people will hate.
Oh, geez, there goes the neighborhood.
Hey, if you don't play the game like they're going to be the same situation in 2 years.
I agree with you.
Yeah, this is the thing.
Oh, very patriotic, Stool. Very patriotic.
We have the situation of the
wrong
first
hand
2 years of Obama. Yeah. And it's up to the Congress to actually get something done this time, rather than sitting on their thumbs the way they did 12 years ago.
Well, I think Jenny's right, and the Democrats have to start playing more the way the Republicans have always done it.
Oh, sure.
So, pick some emotional issue that doesn't really have a lot of real effect, and let all the Trump supporters get all upset about that and not pay attention to what they're doing.
Biden's on TV right now signing some executive orders.
Okay.
Yeah,
Muslim ban's going. He's doing the Muslim ban.
And
and
I hope he joins the Paris Climate Accords again.
Yeah, you're back in it.
He said he will.
He's already promised that.
Good. See, I told you, somebody who's an adult is back. Somebody who sits at the adult table.
Babbitt went and fell back to the thing that there's a immigrant caravan sneaking up on the southern border again.
Oh yeah, we'll buy that one.
I knew that you were not going to go back to sleep. Jen's little corner mobile.
Your point being?
How you doing?
Now, how you doing?
Stu, in a very presidential way, I'm going to ask you, how you doing?
You're just being a racist. You didn't like my salute. You didn't like my salute, so fuck you.
You did it left-handed. You did it left-handed. Wrong country.
The camera's flipped. He's just not good enough at technology to flip his camera. That's all.
Greg, I hope so. Greg says the Orange Party could split the Republicans into nothingness. I certainly hope so. We need less Republican influence here in the U.S.
And of course, Trump wants to start a new party and call it the Patriot Party. Oh, how so creative!
He's such a mess. He is such a mess.
Well, that's kind of what I'm looking for at this point, is that if this is enough of a disruption to the Republican Party, that hopefully it'll give the Democrats about a decade to try and repair things.
It's going to take that long.
At least that long. I don't know if I'm going to live to see any successful repair, reconstruction, whatever you want to call it. I know reconstruction's a loaded word, but I hope you get what I'm after. You know, it's.
I wonder if Pence and Mother are now doing angry sex.
America needs to
does anyone want to see that?
America needs to become the liberal country it thinks it is.
You don't understand what liberalism means at all.
Right.
Our Conservative Party is more liberal than your Democrats.
No, I'm with Mage here. I pledge allegiance to the dollar of the United States of America and to the oligarchy, which now stands one nation under corporate rule with liberty and justice for the super rich. That's beautiful. Yeah. Sums it up.
It's true. It's true.
Decisions.
Yes, we all know that the red stripes on the flag are for the Coca-Cola Corporation.
Yeah, there you go.
That's true.
And the blue is for Pepsi?
Yes.
Unity, right? Unity.
Which stripes did I wear?
You know, I've said this like 3 weeks in a row, but because of COVID, and I'm going off something that Purple said, because of COVID, big companies are gonna prevail because all the mom and pop shops are closing.
Yes.
And places like, you know, McDonald's, Taco Bell, you know, the corporate places, they're going to survive because they have the power to.
Yeah, so they've got the nest egg, basically.
I have to ask you a question, though, babe. Is a unititty a single boob?
Oh, if you want. Because my dad was in the Navy, he used to always say, "Oh, I missed it by an RCH." And one day I stupidly asked him, literally 30 years later, I asked him, "What's an RCH?" And he said, "Oh, it's a red cunt hair."
I thought that's what it was.
My whole life.
No,
he said red. I had no idea. My whole life he had said, "Oh, you're off by an RCH." I thought it was an actual measurement.
Okay.
Just like in America, we say.
It's got to make you wonder how many gingers he went down on.
Well, he was in the Navy for for 17 years.
Okay, so your dad was gay, huh?
Now I need to know, does this imply that the red ones are narrower than the darker ones? Do brunettes have darker hair?
Science.
And something I don't understand here, was in the Navy for 17 years. Why not do the next 3 years and get out with your pension?
He woke up in a hospital and he had been so shot and mangled that they sent him home.
Okay.
Well, he got full bennies anyway.
Yeah, for life. He got a bayonet scar across the chest and went back, and then a bomb went off, and he had till the day he passed, he had a giant divot right here, where basically the bone saved, and probably when he was in his 60s, he pulled out the metal that had been in his body since he was in his 20s in Vietnam.
Oy vey.
It was he was definitely a different They don't make them like that anymore. They definitely don't make them. He would take his shirt off and he had scars and holes and like, you know, he was, but he was
in Vietnam,
Cambodia, Laos.
Oh, no shit. Wow.
Yeah, he was all over the place.
Yeah, my uncle came back. He was in the Air Force, and he came back and beat the fucking scarred and shot. And
oh yeah, my dad was an electrician, and he was an E7, and he basically said if you could hold a rifle and you could do something, they gave you a squad of Marines and put you out there. But it was he joined in 1956 and was there all the way till 1970 something. So he was there for a long.
Boy, he was in the heart of the mess.
Yeah, he was there for a long time. And, you know, for all the bad stories, he told me a bunch of awesome ones, a bunch of really, like, quite a few stories about how he saw the opposition and they turned around and walked away from each other instead of killing each other.
Awful lot of people, my and Diana's age, never came back.
Right.
If you can hold a rifle, you can hold a dildo.
Okay, then.
You can hold a rifle, you can hold two.
Yeah, but the dildo has a heavier kickback.
back then you had to plug him in the wall.
Which branch of the army is armed with dildos exactly?
Now I have in the Navy stuck in my head.
That would be the Royal Marines.
Well, that's the point. The Marines guns. You don't need to learn how to aim.
The Marines are the non-gay portion of the Navy.
So they claim. So they claim.
I did find it funny, you know, when he did his little shindig at the Air Force Base and all his fans were clapping and what have you. And just before they or maybe it was at the beginning, but at the end they played Frank Sinatra My Way, and everyone on CNN was laughing the tits off. It was so funny. But they played YMCA again. It makes me laugh. You still don't get it, do you guys?
I had to ask Jen if that was real. Because I saw you posted that. I asked Jen, I said, did that really happen? He's such a klutz. Donald Trump will go down as one of the worst presidents that America has ever had.
Well, I personally think, and I'm really working to keep my prejudice against him to a minimum here. I personally think he is the worst that we've ever had. I mean, worse than Warren G. Harding.
I mean, he was impeached twice, so.
Because we've had quite a few useless presidents and people that just kind of held the office.
Well, you know, have we had any other president that we were seriously questioning if this was going to be a fascist dictatorship?
Some people worried about Nixon, but even Nixon wasn't as bad as Trump.
Before I get my book, how many times did Roosevelt run for president? How many times? Wasn't he president 3 times though? Isn't he the reason why?
Three and a half.
He didn't serve full terms because he died in his last one.
Yeah, because I was raised by older people, of course, and a running joke in my family was that his whole adult life he was president, basically.
Well,
like the later half of his life, he was
13 years, 12 years, 13 years.
That's insane.
Well, he was elected 4 times.
That's insane.
Elected 4 times, and he died in his last.
He was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, so he died in 1945, so it was at the beginning of his 4th term.
So he was president his entire adult life, basically.
Well, no.
So 13 years. So he did his first 3 4-year terms.
I'm gonna go get.
And then he died in the first year of his.
He died at 62.
Yeah.
Okay, his presidential term lasted from 4 March.
Why do I know more about that than you guys do? It's your country.
Because you're quizzing the wrong people.
So let's see. Yeah, you've got a 12-year span.
I only know that because I read it a couple of days ago. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known.
The reason that Roosevelt did so well is because not only was he smart and understood the vital nature of the rich giving back. It was that he had an exquisite talent for finding the best people to accomplish things, such as Frances, what's her name, who developed basically the entire structure of the New Deal.
Yeah, well, coming out of the Great
hire a
Depression,
woman to do
people
that?
were willing to basically agree to anything because everyone was so desperate then.
Exactly. All right. John Adams, the second president of the United States, was the first distinguished member of the family, which through 4 generations contributed spectacularly to the... Okay, no. All right. So from number 2, wasn't that bad. Well, depending. Thomas Jefferson, third president of the United States, should normally have been conservative, but he was well born, well educated. That's arguable if he was that bad. We can argue about that another day. Donald Trump will go down as the worst president. I'm looking to see if from the 1800s on if there was anybody as bad as Trump.
Yeah,
maybe
Trump is down as released.
Trump
What's
is
that?
not.
William Henry Harrison, who died a couple months after inauguration.
Okay, what does it say that we just passed over a guy who had illegitimate children with his slave and saying that he wasn't as bad?
That's what I'm saying. We can argue about that another day.
No, Donald Trump is not going to have.
Yeah, but illegitimate children doesn't necessarily make him bad, does it?
But Trump has lowered the bar so much that I just ran
And if
past
Trump was
it.
allowed to have slaves, do you think he would not?
He does have slaves. He gets his clothes made in China. He has slaves.
You're
You
right.
could almost have a president now who visibly kicked dogs and they'd still be better than Trump.
I was raised Roman Catholic, so I'm good with the guilt, but we all buy stuff that comes from slave labor.
Trump had no dog, never had a dog, so he's subhuman just to begin with.
Yeah, well, and it's one of the things that people questioned about Trump, that he was the first president in like 100 years
Okay,
that didn't
there
have
we
any
go.
pets.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Okay, now
you
I
talk to
get
the
it.
FBI and stuff about mass murderers and things like this, and animal abuse is one of the prime features of people that's sick. So as far as I'm concerned, somebody who hates dogs and would never have one is showing some tendencies that are not very favorable.
Dogs are the greatest people. They're better people.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I had some setting problems.
You were audible anyway, Diana, weren't you?
Yeah, you
You
sounded
didn't go mute.
great. the
Oh,
entire time.
okay. It looked like I was on the wrong setting there for a minute. Okay, thanks a million. Yay! Back to our show.
James Madison of Virginia, fourth president of the United States, is probably remembered for more of his work during the Federal Convention and framed the Constitution than his subsequent activities. Okay, so Madison was kind of useless. War of 1812, blah, blah, blah. Canada. We invaded Canada 4 times, I think. Yeah, we came back for Toronto a 4th time.
Yep.
Yeah, and I wish they'd invade us and win, and then give it all back.
You don't need to worry about that anymore, Jenny. You got rid of the Trump.
No, I still like us to be part of Canada.
Wait, with the invasions of Canada, did you count in the Revolution when we tried to make Quebec part of this country? Winter of 1775, we sent a contingent up to siege Quebec.
Wow.
And they would have made it, but they couldn't read the traffic signs because they were in French.
I need a hi-hat. Jenny, that's just gold. That is just gold.
Are you saying they spent 40 years wandering around in the wilderness before God led them to the promised land?
Yeah, wandering the Adirondacks.
Yeah, but at least it wasn't a fucking desert that had clear view for 50 miles. You had a good reason to be lost in the Adirondacks.
James Monroe, the 5th president of the United States. Monroe long favored a strict constitution and interpretation of the Constitution. His term of office conceded, however, with a period of rising nationalism. Oh, that's scary. All right.
Yeah, and the Monroe Doctrine was not the best position
At
to
all.
take. Really.
I'm giving you this is the Godless Sewing run through history. I'm running.
Okay.
Diana, what
Running.
part of-
I
what
mean,
part
there
of
will be
the
other
Constitution don't you
presidents who
like?
did equally as crap things as Trump.
I was
I don't-
about to say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Say
But
again, Jay.
Trump's the first.
I was just wondering what part of
Trump's going to be one of the first very visible ones.
You didn't like Monroe?
We can
Well,
argue
no,
about
that whole isolationism thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I think the other thing about Trump is all the other presidents who did bad things basically tried to hide the fact that they did bad things. Trump was basically bragging about them on Twitter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Well, you guys, listen, I got to take off. I have some errands I got to run.
Don't do that on camera. You'd get Purple thrown off.
I would not want to do that to my Purple.
You wouldn't be able to see me if I came on camera because I'm in the dark in bed.
Okay.
Well, we'll see you guys later.
Good
Enjoy
talking to
it.
you.
Hi,
Bye.
Danny.
Happy inauguration.
Did anybody see the debate that Randolph Richardson was in night before last?
No, I actually wanted to see that.
No.
Yeah.
I saw part of it, and I had to turn it off because what was the guy's name?
I know
Gavin
that the
something
person
or
who was
other?
debating was naked, bottom down, and kept standing up.
Yeah, and
What?
he was just so off the wall.
Yeah, on
yes.
the Atheist Roundtable, the guy that Randolph was debating, Craig something.
Kitty!
Yeah, he
How's it going?
he was
Hello.
exposing his
I'm
naked butt.
waving. Why am I waving? I'm not on video.
I can't say it. Yeah.
Do you know I still smile? I still smile at people under my mask. And,
Hey.
and I'm like, why aren't they responding?
Jen, I feel so connected to you that I felt your wave from your made up
Oh,
fucking
okay.
country.
What at the wrist and ankles? Is that it?
You know what the worst thing is about you guys losing getting rid of Donald Trump? We in Australia now probably have the second worst leader in the first world.
I think that goes to
right
Boris
behind
Johnson.
Boris.
I was about
yeah.
to say, have you seen their
Yeah.
school lunch thing is a debacle that makes me want to
Yeah.
cry.
I was thinking that the
Our
worst part
leader's
of it
an
was
ass.
that I was thinking the worst part of it was that the late night talk show hosts now have to actually hire script writers again.
I know. You know, all those I hate Trump accounts too. Like, what are they going to talk about now?
Well, they can still hate him from
I
afar.
mean, there's nothing stopping people start looking at what Boris is tweeting or what Scott Morrison is tweeting because I mean it's just as stupid.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
well,
I mean,
Boris
we will
and
never
obviously
lack
what's-
for humor.
Boris Johnson is obviously just a Trump light.
Absolutely.
You know, he's a bit more competent than Trump, and he knows how to do it as showmanship.
I don't know. Is he more competent though? I mean, still, is he more competent
Then who?
Trump,
than Trump?
or is it just the
Trump and
accent?
Trump.
Well,
Yeah,
Question again.
Is
Is
Boris,
Boris more competent than Trump?
Oh, fuck. No. No.
well,
No.
not competent in as far as getting anything done for the country, but he's more competent in promoting his own agenda. He doesn't get caught in the hypocrisy quite as much.
Well,
Oh, he does.
He's also
He
more
does.
still,
He's
still
more
is-
shrewd and less, and he's got a higher IQ than Trump, most definitely.
well, that's not difficult.
and
No.
To have a higher IQ than a garter snake is not that difficult, really.
so what's the name? Is it Pretty Patel?
Yeah, oh, she's a fucking racist.
She is so racist, and she's just deporting everybody. People who are born in the UK, she's deporting them back. Windrush. People like me will never forget Windrush. I'm not even from your country.
The UK has some massive problems politically in terms of
oh.
people who are actually in the parties you've got over there. I mean, we've got problems here, but you guys, you guys make us feel a little bit better about ourselves.
It's just not
in the
We're
UK. You
absolutely
screwed
fucked.
yourselves hard with the Brexit. My understanding is that you're running into some very severe problems.
Yeah, we can't feed ourselves.
Yeah,
the shelves are bare. We can't sell our fucking fish.
Yeah.
The all important fish that they've been wanging on about for 4 fucking years. Oh, don't get me started.
That's what I'm saying. We're all fucked.
I mean, you have those problems with Brexit, but we have a prime minister who went holidaying in Bali whilst Australia was burning.
Oh, Boris has done that. He's quite well known for it.
Oh,
in the London riots, which were in 2008, I think, they had to beg him to come back from holiday.
Ricardo, are you quoting someone? I mean, that sounded like Greg Locke right there.
What, this?
Yeah, that one.
Please note, a man becomes a person by genuinely winning unless you know that. Huh.
There are still people who would be doing it for him, but unfortunately, in a poll taken last week, they came up with something like 14% of the people polled felt that the riot on the Capitol was a good thing.
Isn't that wonderful?
They need to get the hell. We should be like the UK and deport those people. We should deport those people. Just put them out in the ocean.
I wonder if Trump's hoping he can persuade Florida to secede from the Union, and then they can rename it Trumpstania or something.
Well, does anybody know anything about how
they can name it Trumpstania after his first wank?
Does anybody know how the lawsuits were working out, where people in Palm Beach were suing such that he would not be allowed to live at Mar-a-Lago? I mean, which he can't anyway because of a 1993 agreement, but you know, Trump and agreements.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't give a fucking shit.
I wouldn't want him. I wouldn't want him around. I wouldn't want him around. Do you know? I know we said this.
Also, what else does it say that he's talking about going to Florida, and his wife is saying how she can't wait to get back to New York?
Because she's going to leave him the first chance that she gets.
Yeah, I can imagine that she's going to file for divorce within hours.
Oh, that would be very difficult.
Well, I don't know. I'm thinking that
why is it difficult?
Well, his long time, you know how he's got all these lawyers. One of them is called, it's a Cohen, I think. And he looks after Trump's marriage agreements. And they're very, very hard to get out of.
I'm thinking they might stay married on paper, but never live in the same state again.
Well, the darn thing is, though, how much legal help is he going to have? Because he's not paying anybody. Really?
He doesn't have any money.
Yeah, I mean, there's the big thing. This is why I can see everybody bailing on him, up to and including Kidney Lady.
Kidney Lady. The agreements are very, very Trump-like, as you can imagine. And what was his first one called? I can't remember. Damn, I forgot her name.
His first wife?
Ivana?
Ivana, the chick lady?
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah.
And then Ivana, then Marla,
Maple, and then Melania.
I think
it's okay.
Ivana.
I thought there was somebody else in the middle, but no, there isn't. You're right. Yeah.
She does. You don't hear very much from her because she's not allowed to speak about him, obviously. But she does very well financially. That was part of the agreement.
Okay.
You get you get this amount of money if you keep your gob shut. That's British for mouth.
Yeah, there was a point when Ivana basically had testified about she had recommended one of like her plastic surgeons to Donald for hair implants, and it was apparently very painful, and Donald couldn't handle the pain. So he literally threw Ivana down to the bed and proceeded to assault her
Which is
because of
putting it
it.
nicely.
And she then retracted her statement after his lawyers got in touch with her.
Okay, then.
He's such a scumbag.
He doesn't like to lose. That's why he's going to be chucking a sad for the next 4 years.
So he did or did he not say, like, basically, Terminator, I'll be back?
Basically.
I can't stand the sound of his voice, so I don't listen to any of his speeches.
He was basically saying something's happening and he'll be back sooner than you think.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a new reality show for him. You've been fired.
Well, he's
Sure.
supposed to be starting a new party, isn't he, called the Patriot Party, which is
Yeah, the
probably
Patriot
going to
Party.
be, it'll probably be Don Jr. because he's the next. Trump won't.
He's the heir apparent.
Trump
Yeah.
Senior won't do it again, even if he's allowed to legally, because
No, there's been a lot of talk about if Ivanka would do it.
Ugh.
I mean, Ivanka's the only child he actually likes, and it's probably because he wants to have sex with her.
He probably already
Or
has
has had.
for crap's sake.
Or has had. But you know,
Yeah.
I would have no way of knowing that. But like the fact that he wants to, like that Oedipus vibe is very strong. I mean,
And creepy.
yes, also very creepy. But no, I am praying to gods I don't believe in that he starts a Patriot Party, because that would literally be the death knell to the GOP.
Absolutely.
Because at least half of the GOP is rah-rah all about Trump.
Well,
And-
I mean,
and that's being conservative. Like literally, like it could be more than half, but I'm saying at least half.
it doesn't
And
even have to
considering
be
how
that much.
considering how close our national elections tend to be, if Trump were to siphon off his base from the Republican Party, they'd never be able to win a national election again, regardless of the gerrymandering or suppression.
Effectively, Trump's legacy is he'll have destroyed the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Actually, thank him for if he succeeds.
Well,
They were-
it doesn't
they-
need to be that much, because the election margins have been so narrow that if he takes even 5% of the voter base, that's going to be enough to tip most of the elections.
Mm-hmm.
I said this back when the Tea Party first started, that the Republican Party was taking a nosedive. Because they keep on going more and more right, and not everybody is willing to follow down that path of mass movements come and go. And a lot of people got caught up in the Trumpism, and we're going to see what's left is going to be that 5% that will be the reason why the Republican Party is going to be losing for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying it'll give the Democrats some time to rebuild before the Republicans can restructure to, any point where they can actually get candidates elected again.
Absolutely.
And even then, it won't be the same Republican Party, because I think they would try to avoid to have that.
Yeah, I think
right
it is something that's
element.
going to move them slightly closer to the center, because I think they will realize that getting the people that are on that extreme of fringe, is really what undid them.
And I think what you might find with that is it'll give the Democrat Party a chance to actually move a little bit more left.
If they want to, and I don't see the desire right now.
What's the name of? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, for them, I don't see the desire of moving left. Remember Obama was all chuckling about, were this 40 years ago, I'd be a Republican without changing my positions.
Yep.
But the best Republican president we've had in at least 50 years. I mean, his policies were essentially a socially liberal, moderate Republican. And like going back to like Reagan, if you actually look at some of the stuff that Reagan did and Obama, like there's actually like parallels there in so far as like policy and some of the things that they did. Because like Reagan wasn't, I mean, he was bad. All right, let's be real. He was bad.
He was,
but
absolutely.
He wasn't as bad as some others that we've had, especially more recently. And there were some things he did that weren't so bad, but the whole deification of Reagan and Reaganomics has sent our country down the toilet.
Oh yeah,
Reagan
was garbage.
We still see the effects of that in Los Angeles to this day because the amount of homeless people. That is direct correlation with Reaganomics. There are generations of homeless people because of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, and of course we are stuck with everybody Trump stacked in the courts.
That's a problem. That is a big problem. You've got a third of the Supreme Court that was Trump appointed.
Exactly.
And I have yet to see the full impact, and I really don't want to, but it's not going to be pretty.
Change the law so that judges have to retire at a certain age.
But what happens to the judges currently sitting? I mean,
lifetime. They retire and you appoint new ones.
Well, my question is, would that be acceptable, or would they demand the tenure of their original appointment, that sort of thing? And I'm playing.
I don't know, but I think you kind of need it. I think you need something to change about the way your appointment system works.
Oh, absolutely, I agree with you. Yeah,
I mean, I know. Okay, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was pretty awesome in that she was pretty much with it all the way through her life, but a lot of them aren't. Sitting for life is a ridiculous proposition.
Oh yeah, I agree with you totally.
I think that the issue is the ones that Trump appointed are young. So they would be on there for 20, 30 years, even if you did put a cap on their
Then you set a term limit. You say 15 years and that's it.
To answer what is that Stephen Barman? Sorry.
Barman.
Kamala Harris is more right than Mike Pence. Anybody from California, she is so right wing. So if you're worried about Biden is a lefty, but Kamala Harris is a complete righty.
Oh, and
Camilla has some horrible skeletons in her closet.
As a Californian, and that's why I'm not going to go off about Kamala Harris because she's not Trump. Let's just put it that way. But she's not clean either.
I've heard stories about her district attorney days.
Oh, she hates trans
She's
women.
got trans blood on her hands.
Black men. She's convicted more black men than George Bush. Go look up George Bush's numbers when he was governor, and Kamala Harris convicted more black men than George Bush, and that's saying something. She filled the prisons here in California.
I mean, was Bush governor of California, though?
No, I'm comparing Texas and California.
Okay, but you got to factor in population as well. Like, I mean, per capita. Like, what are the numbers per capita? Because, like, there are a lot more people in California than Texas. Just trying to be fair,
No, I know. I'm not. Yeah. I don't want to trash her too hard. I know we all like her today. I'm not going to trash her, but she's pretty right.
Stephen has a point, that we need standards for politicians and their appointments.
Well,
now here's the problem.
Go ahead, Diana.
Yeah, Kate and I have talked about this.
Oh, Kamala.
How do you apply the standards without having them horribly misused, prejudicially, that sort of thing? That's an open question.
In theory, we have standards because that's why the appointments have to be approved by the Senate.
And that's why they all can.
Yeah, it wasn't prepared for this kind of extreme partisanism where they'll approve anyone for their candidate regardless, and they will not approve anyone for the other candidate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you even need for the office holders, the elected office holders, governors, senators, both federal and state level, that sort of thing. You really need competent people, and there is a dearth of competent people in these elected offices. But how do you apply the standards without being accused of prejudice?
Yeah.
Because it'll happen.
That's the problem.
How about making your impeachment votes secret ballot? That way, everyone in the parliament can vote with conscience instead of party lines.
Have you seen some of those people?
I'm aware, but there's probably enough people that if your president was bad enough, like Trump, would have crossed the line if they didn't have the issues with parties.
This time,
and
they had.
Fun
they have like almost
people who give them funds.
Well, the problem with that is that I hear many Republican office holders, senators especially, say, I would have voted to convict, or I would have criticized Trump, but I was afraid to. I'm thinking that 90% of that is bullshit.
Absolutely. They have like a cult-like devotion to Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Trump finally stood up and said, he is defending the right for people to be bigoted and racist. He wants to defend that. And these people, they're going down fighting. They want that old America where they can call people the N-word, where they can scream the T-word all day long, so their time is come and gone, and they're clawing their way out. That's the problem.
No, like even with a secret ballot, most of them, like one thing I will give the Republicans, credit for is they have framing, they have messaging, and they have cohesion. And when it comes down to it, they stick together.
Absolutely.
It's like when Al Franken, got accused of doing something inappropriate, like the Democrats just yeeted him right under the bus.
Same with Katie Hill.
Elected Donald Trump, and then they protected him because power matters more than principles.
In California, Katie Hill got caught with her secretary, and she left office. She's part of my district.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it was because she's a lesbian. I think it's because it was kind of a scandal. The Democrats threw her out of office when they were praising her, months before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they held her to the standard that everybody else should be held to.
The problem you'd have with what Steve's suggesting there is if you sacked all the justices, you set a precedent, and every time you had to change your government, every justice would be sacked, and that would appoint a bench that completely supported their agenda.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I think,
I like that idea, though.
I think that we have demonstrable evidence that Kavanaugh lied under oath during his hearing, and he should be impeached.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then,
Do you
Biden should appoint somebody. And I do think that whether or not, because right now it's a 5-3, whether or not you impeach Kavanaugh, which I think should be done, would determine whether you add 1 or 2 seats to the court. Because here's the thing, I don't want as much as I would like to have a justice just full of liberals, it actually would be more detrimental going forward, because then, the next president would expand it so that they have a majority. If you add 1 or 2 seats, depending on whether or not you impeach Kavanaugh, then it would be, essentially 5-5, where, yes, they could deadlock. It's possible, but it would also mean that, there was room for swing there. And there are some cases that, like Gorsuch and Roberts, have been on the right side of. And I think, that would be a more equitable way to do it, so that there's no solid majority one way or another. And that would allow swing votes for people to vote more like their conscience.
Well, that was what I was going to ask. Did you want to kick Gorsuch also on improper procedure?
Because here's the thing, like Gorsuch, I don't like him. I think it was fucked what they did to Merrick Garland. Which it's also why people say, Ruth Bader Ginsburg should have resigned. But McConnell would have done the same thing to RBG that he did, when Alito. No, was it Alito?
No,
no, not Alito.
It was Scalia died.
When Scalia died. So when Scalia died, he's like, yeah, no, we're going to wait until the next election over a year from now. Like, he would have done the same thing if Ruth had retired back then.
Right.
So, like, people that give her shit, saying, hey, well, you could have retired under Obama's watch and he could have secured the justice. Like, I don't think so, because McConnell cares more about, partisan politics and power than he does about what's right.
Yeah. This is a valid point, though, as far as expanding the court, that it used to be that there was one justice for each district.
Yeah.
And the U.S. just got expanded to 13 districts, and they did not add more justices at that point.
Yeah, I would support that, expanding it to 13 justices. And, I still think Kavanaugh should get the boot, but only because, he lied under oath.
Yeah, the whole perjury
thing. Rapist.
I did get physically ill.
I believed her. Like, as a survivor of assault, I felt that during that testimony. Like, I had to watch it in chunks. Like, I've gotten to the point where I can talk about what I've been through, and I handle it really well. But the raw pain and trauma in her testimony, like, I had to take it in chunks.
Kavanaugh makes me physically ill. When I saw him today, and what's her face, who got appointed as well.
Coney Barrett.
Yes, both of them. They're there as puppets.
I have real problems with Coney Barrett. The problem with that, though, is that her appointment, even though it was a ramrod, really didn't have all that much wrong with it. You followed procedure and everything. It's just that it was predetermined. The confirmation, you knew which way it was going to go.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
He didn't even wait until Ruth's body was cold.
Right.
And the fact that he denied Merrick Garland a seat for over a year and ramrodded her in 2-3 weeks?
Exactly. Under pretty much the same conditions. You had a president who was going to be outgoing. We knew this already pretty much.
Yeah, but Obama was in his third year when Scalia died, I believe. Whereas, Trump only had a couple months to go.
Yeah, exactly. They've shown that their word means nothing.
Oh yeah.
Flat out.
Hold me to it that if it were a Republican, I would say the same thing. Let the next president decide.
Exactly.
You see, what had happened was the sun was in my eyes, and it was, Mercury was in retrograde, and it was,
I'm always screaming for proof. I'm always like, you can't prove that. You can't prove that. We can actually prove that these guys are bold-faced liars. I don't think there's much to say about that. Like,
well, one big thing that's going to get the Republicans right away is they took the nuclear option in the Senate, and they changed a whole bunch of things that used to require a 2/3 majority to a simple majority.
Yeah.
And that's going to come back at them in a matter of weeks.
Good.
Well, who was it?
They're going to be bitching up and down about that for the next 4 years.
Who was it that said to the Republicans, watch what you do when they took the nuclear option, because it's going to come back and bite your arse, and sure enough, it's going to do it. At this point right now, I have to say that I am ashamed that I was once a Republican.
Yeah, well, when the Republicans switched the majority votes in Congress, I'm sure they had it with the idea that by doing so, they were going to be able to keep control indefinitely.
Yeah, they have their pipe dreams.
They did not think there would be a time that they would become the minority again.
of voter suppression and gerrymandering that essentially the Republicans thought they were untouchable.
Yep.
And hopefully one of Biden's priorities and the Democrats will be reinstating the parts of the Voting Rights Act that have been gutted over
Absolutely.
the last 20 years.
I believe they have stated that they want to do that, right?
The thing
Like
I
that,
don't.
that will
and-
help secure their
sorry.
power too. The Democrats, I mean,
Mhm,
because the more
mhm,
people
mhm.
vote, the better the Democrats do.
And to save the post office so that some maniac can't come and rip boxes off the streets
Yeah.
again. You know, I live in a Republican town and they got rid of our boxes.
Yeah.
You know, it's insane that he had the ability to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I know like leading up to the inauguration, they were getting rid of mailboxes or locking them because they were worried about people planting explosives.
That's
But
different.
yeah, going back to during the vote, like honestly, like I don't think you can even say we have free and fair elections in this country anymore with the amount, like AOC said it wonderfully. She's like, that's being generous with the amount of, gerrymandering and voter suppression that has taken place over the last, 30 years or so.
Absolutely.
I don't know that you can really say that we do.
Well,
We lucked out with Biden, and it was because Trump was so God's awful. But
Yes.
unless something is done now while we have the power, it's going to swing right back. And the amount of damage the Republicans will do if they get power again after losing all three
Yeah, I don't know if there's a
sections.
term for that because technically Senate and House are a branch. They are the legislative branch. So that doesn't. But we get the point. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the three branches of government would be the Supreme Court, the executive, and then
And then the
Congress. But
Congress.
like, since the House and the Senate are separate, and those are the ones that are really up for grabs during election years, that's why I kind of think of them as the three. There's the White House, the House, and the Senate.
Well, I think one thing that has changed that we haven't seen the full impact of yet is just making people in general aware of mail-in voting, that this is an option most people can take.
Yes.
So
and
that
would
people
be
who can't necessarily get to the polling place on election day will be able to vote in future elections.
I voted like almost 2 weeks early. I loved it.
Oh yeah, I dropped mine off at the county offices in October.
it
that
took
was
me
one
less than a
thing.
week to drop my ballot in. Yeah.
That was one thing that scared me, is that I didn't have confidence on where to put my ballot. So I gave it to a mail person that I have known for over 30 years because I trusted that individual.
Well,
You know.
just hearing so much crap about the post office, that was something, I checked
Now,
up on. And yeah,
There's the
in most places in the U.S., you could take it in to the county offices because it's, the county board of elections that is actually responsible for counting the ballots.
It would have taken me more than an hour to do that because there's just the county board of elections downtown.
Yeah.
And where I am, well, you know where I am.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to get there from here. I mean, physically, you only have two buses and they run once an hour. The interesting thing, though, about the Joy, whoops, let me put this back together while I'm talking. Replacing DeJoy is not as simple as replacing a cabinet member because postmaster is now selected by a board of governors, not by a president or any political office holder. The board of governors is insulated from the political process.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that was something else they found a new way to rig, because the whole point of that was to make the post office autonomous. It wasn't supposed to be, under the control of any other branch of the government. That's also why the post office is self-funding. They don't get any tax money. unfortunately, they have to have their budget approved by Congress.
Yeah.
Well,
And
sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Big problem with the post office is the requirement that they have the retirement fund paid up. What is it, 75 years in advance?
Yeah, there are
Which is
people
an
that
absurd
theoretically aren't
requirement.
even born yet that they have to have a pension ready
Yeah.
for them.
Mhm.
What?
That's what I was going to talk about. That goes
Yeah.
back to when Bush was in office back in 2005, 2006.
Yeah, it's an absurd requirement that no branch of government and no private company has ever done.
That's
Right,
insane.
right.
That's completely insane.
And that
Yeah,
was
and
done specifically to hamstring the post office.
Until they passed that, the post office ran at a profit every year.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to privatize it and give their fucking corporate buddies,
Exactly.
essentially the keys to the kingdom, which would mean a lot of people would lose mail service because there are a lot of rural areas that like people like UPS don't deliver to, or if they do, it's incredibly expensive. It's like cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, I'm starting to notice Amazon has become unreliable. UPS, like certain things that I'm gonna say I hope it's because of COVID, but as somebody who orders a lot of stuff, I've been getting a lot of refunds or certain companies just flat out try to rip me off.
Well, of the three companies, UPS, FedEx, and Amazon, I've had the fewest problems with Amazon. I will say that. Now that's an N equals 1 experiment. But
I've just recently I order a large amount of stuff through the mail, and recently Amazon hasn't been reliable at all. And their dates, they keep on pushing them back and back and back, and I hope it's just because of tensions and Trump and all that stuff. I hope they get back to where they were.
Well, I
it
think
affects-
Amazon is having problems on both ends. Just that they're not able to restock items as quickly as they were used to either.
The problem is they promise things that they can't either.
What's really interesting in my with respect to me is that Amazon has come through early in a few cases. They say they're going to deliver it on Saturday and it comes on Thursday.
Well, and that's what makes me think that a lot of it's about what they actually have in their own warehouse, as opposed to if they have to get it from another source.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've seen that here too, that occasionally things will show up a day or two early. Most stuff is showing up 2 to 3 days late, sometimes a lot worse. And while I was trying to build my computer, I had a couple of orders for the components canceled after I had paid for them.
Okay.
You just reminded me. I was like kind of perusing and shopping for a green screen. Amazon was like, "Oh, we'll have it to you the next day." But when I
what actually happened?
I haven't bought it because I ordered it all started last year. I ordered a hammock around this time of year and I didn't get it until November.
Oops.
I forgot. This big box shows up at my door and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Oh my.
And so even Jen was probably asleep. She just laughed at me because last Saturday it's windy and I'm like ignorantly out there with my hammock. Like, no, I don't care if it's cold out here. I don't care. I will enjoy this hammock. But so ever since then, I haven't had, they were reliable and they're not anymore. And now I ordered a patch from a company that I really respect. And it's usually here in a week and it took 2 months. And I probably won't order from that company anymore.
Okay.
So it's affecting other businesses because people like me who order a lot of stuff online and support small local businesses, I get turned off because it takes too long for the stuff to get here.
Okay.
And I can't make money off of it sitting around and waiting for things to come here. You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. So I have to go, but I'm scared to go out into Los Angeles because of the coronavirus. So I'm screwed.
Well, that's what's been holding me up on building the new computer. I actually wound up having to order the CPU 4 times.
Exactly. It's just a
And
problem.
it's like each time I ordered it, the price had gone up, and the date that they said they could deliver it was moved out a couple of weeks further.
They keep on doing that to me. It's driving me crazy.
So yeah, this last one, I wound up ordering it sometime in November, and it didn't get delivered until the second week of January.
Okay, I am so happy that my broadcast machine is as young as it is, if you can use that term. It's only 3 years old. So with a 3-year-old computer and a 5-year-old computer, I hope, cross the fingers, that I'm not going to have to build another one anytime soon.
Not with a 5-year, even with a 5-year-old one, you won't.
Yeah,
because I'm running off some new stuff, old stuff. You'd be surprised.
Hey, Sloth Girl.
Yeah, a lot of it is the stuff from overseas, and especially the electronics coming out of China.
Absolutely.
A lot of problems
man.
getting that
The stuff out of China. Yeah, it took long enough when we had a decent supply chain, because I can remember when I built this last machine, there were a couple of parts that came out of China that took, like 3 weeks to get to me, whereas everything else was coming within days.
Yeah, I also had a lot of other stuff that, like, I had put it on my wish list, hoping for some help with some things. And I kept having to go in and update the wish list because the specific item I put on there would be out of stock and they'd have no idea when they would get it back.
Okay,
like
then.
I had to change the memory chips 3 times.
Whoa.
Kitty, what are you making?
I was about to ask that. Are you making prayer flags over there or what?
No, they're masks.
Oh,
they're the
okay.
components for masks. I'm just so basically, when I sew my masks together, first I sew them right sides together, and then I will fold over the seam allowance and tack it down from the front, and then I use my pinking shears to cut off the excess seam allowance so it lays more flat on the face.
Ooh.
Okay, question. You have the pinking shears, but what if you're working with something that's blue? I know. I'll be over there.
Get out of here.
There you go.
And I am working with something that's blue right here.
Yeah,
It's actually different Harry Potter fabrics. There's this one with the house crest and this one with a chibi version of Hermione, Ron, and Harry.
Awesome.
Yeah, since March, Sloth Girl has made over 400 masks that we've been sending out to people all across the country.
And something that Sloth Girl said earlier, because of Sloth Girl, I am now craving Popeyes. And I'll probably go later now.
Oh, man. There used to be one nearby, and unfortunately they closed.
Yeah, well, she's all excited because they just opened one up here at the beginning of the month.
Ooh.
So
nice.
we didn't have one here before.
I had to stop going because I played it out. But it's been a while, so now I'm craving it.
Yeah, it's funny. I also have sewed over 400 masks and given them to people all over the country and world. I've actually got some of my masks in Australia and in the UK that I've shipped out, but most of them are here in the States.
Jen, are you awake?
Yeah, back in the spring, I wound up sending out a bunch of care packages because there were things that a lot of people were unable to get where they lived that we were still able to find some supplies here.
Okay.
At my job, because I work with special needs adults, I was not shocked, but I was pleasantly surprised at how many people brought masks to my job for the clients, for the employees, for everybody. So
nice.
Thousands of masks. So everybody who's selling masks, they are going to people who need them. So that's an important thing.
Well, most of the ones we did, my sister is an RN at a long-term care facility in the small town we used to live in. So that's where the bulk of them went because, even though this is a medical facility, they were not able to get enough supplies there. So they did not have enough masks for the staff and the residents.
They're always the first ones to run out. you know.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, you know. Around here, it's still enrages me. People, they in America, people don't think COVID is real.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? I mean, even I've heard stories. Was it you, Purple, or somebody else was telling me about people lying in bed? They are dying, and it is definitely of COVID, and they're still denying that it is COVID as they are dying of it.
That's unreal to me. That is just unreal to me. How people can't accept that there is a pandemic going on.
Oh,
I mean, I could better understand the people who say God will shield me from this than I can the people who say, no, it doesn't exist, when it's right up their fucking noses, literally.
On the subject of the supplies, I will put in a plug for a company that I've liked anyway, of Harbor Freight Tools. They sell
Nice.
knockoff tools,
Mm-hmm.
but since April, they have had signs up that they have no N95 masks or non-latex gloves because they continue to donate their entire supply to medical facilities.
Awesome. I have a Harbor Freight a rollaway toolbox, one with wheels on it, because I needed something for a job site that I could beat up, and it's well made, just as good as my Craftsman or my Husky toolboxes. It's so, you know. So, but with that being said, some Harbor Freight stuff is iffy, but I go there all the time.
It's because it's all Chinese knockoffs, but there's also a lot of stuff I do that it's like I pretty much know I'm going to ruin the tool on this job.
Exactly. Like at the dollar store by my house, they sell rollers and paintbrushes. I will go buy the whole row because I know I'm going to throw all that in the trash after a job. I know all of that's going straight in the trash, you know. So if
you're not using water-based paints, you know you're not going to be able to clean them off anyway.
Oh, right. Absolutely.
I should show you. I have what I call my paint clothes. You'll never wash out certain paints. You will never wash them out. So I just accept it, you know.
Now, I've occasionally heard from the occasional person that Craftsman is no longer what Craftsman once was. Is that the case?
Yeah, because
the quality of steel they use is not anywhere near what it used to be. The blades do not last nearly as long.
Okay.
I'll give you a perfect example. When my dad passed, I inherited all of his tools. There are Craftsman. He has Craftsman tools from 50 years ago that work better than mine that I got 10 years ago that haven't snapped. And some of my tools have snapped. Screwdriver handles break off. I have screwdrivers that are older than me that are still going, that are just, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They're just made of better material. People cared more back then. I have a 60-year-old welding machine. Thing's an iron workhorse. It is a it still works to this day. There's not much to it, but you know, my paint gun, I've had to take it apart at least 15 different times. I have a paint gun from 30 years ago. I just wash it and it still works.
My dad was a professional carpenter, and the Craftsman table saw that was in our basement in the 1960s. My brother is still using it today.
I was about to say my cousin basically stole one of my dad's saws, and she could have it, but that thing has got to be, you know. Oh, I don't even want to say how old. It's just old. Those tools were made to last.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Well, when I was living up there, I did a bit of a rebuild on it, which was mostly kind of, you know, stripping off the old finish and repainting it. I replaced a couple of bearings. It's still the original motor.
I even look at my truck like that. I got my dad's truck. It's an '88 Ford F-150. All you have to do is change the oil, and that thing still runs. Those cars were made to, you know, those trucks were made to last.
Yeah, Craftsman was actually always Sears, but Kmart wound up buying Sears.
Absolutely.
Which was another bit of business financing I didn't understand is how did Kmart declare bankruptcy and a year later bought a company that was bigger than they were.
Isn't that great?
Because the CEO group still owned the name probably and still had a ton of money after they ripped off all their employees and everybody in between.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah, but bankruptcy is just a legal way for them to get out of paying a bunch of their bills.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, there really needs to be some overhaul of bankruptcy law. Really does.
I always say we need actual oversight in a lot of agencies, like the banking agency, like the policing in general needs civilian oversight. There needs to be a civilian that says, no, you can't do that to other, to your other citizens. We need more insight and more people up in. We have given too much power to civil servants, at least in America, to where they could have a mini dictatorship and no one will know it because no one's, there's no checks and balances anymore. I feel like even here in California, we have some of the greatest laws, but people actually have to enforce those laws.
Yes.
So it's kind of iffy here because we have great laws here, but there's people that could care less.
Yeah, supposedly the final check and balance system is supposed to be the voters, but if the voters aren't really paying attention to what their elected officials are doing, and if half of them don't bother to vote, that pretty much shoots that.
And that's my problem.
Yeah.
I always cry like, oh, the infrastructure is failing. Half the people don't even know the infrastructure is failing, and that's the problem.
Fortunately, yeah. Right now, our infrastructure gets a grade of D+.
Yeah.
It is literally crumbling all around us. You wouldn't even be able to skate by on daddy's money if your grades were a D+.
Exactly.
And unfortunately,
So true.
people also have the resistance to paying taxes.
Yeah, they want the services, but are sort of afraid to pay for them.
Well, I think that's twofold.
Infrastructure's falling apart, but they don't want to, be paying the taxes. And
I'm going to guess that you're heading where I was going to head, so go for it.
I know where you're going, but go ahead.
No, I think it's twofold in that for a long time, the Republican messaging has been so anti-tax, taxation is theft, but also people don't seem to really get much for their taxes. They feel like, oh, more tax increases. We're paying so much in taxes, but what are we getting for it? You see other countries, they pay taxes. Sure, they pay higher rates, but they get healthcare, they get education, they get good infrastructure. And so, yeah, I don't know if that's where you guys were going with it.
I think it needs to be a lot more transparent that, people need to see, there need to be a lot more public documents and reporting on where the money's going.
That's the problem. And that's why I said,
all the money being dumped into a general sludge fund and no one has any idea what's being spent on.
It's not only that.
X% goes for roads, X% goes for fire department, X% goes for police.
But
everybody's
the other
tax
thing,
returns each year.
Say again?
Print that on everyone's tax returns every year, that it's like, all right, 100% of your taxes, 10% is going to education, 20% to infrastructure, 30% to, national security. Like, I don't know the numbers. Just do an itemized breakdown like that.
Does that not happen already?
It's supposed to, but we have many dictatorships. Like here in LA, the sheriffs, they have tanks and a fleet of helicopters, and they have better better vehicles than the Secret Service.
Do you not get a little list every year saying where your tax went to?
Our local sheriffs are better armed than the military.
Yeah, they don't give us a list for it. If you want to dig on the internet, it's kind of available, but also a lot of the stuff comes down to a lot of the money winds up getting dumped into funds that are kind of ambiguously named that you can't quite tell what it's being spent on.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's the other thing too, at least as far as the average Joe or Josephine is concerned. Paying taxes might be a little easier if you had the money with which to pay the taxes. Consider that the minimum wage has not increased in 30 years, 40 years. It's still at 7.25, where it was in 1980. I mean, but the price of bread has steadily risen over that period of time.
They changed the minimum wage here in California. So it's they call it a living wage, but let's be real. To live in California, you have to make at least $120,000. Well, at least $100,000, $100,000 a year, which the average person here is making 20 to 30,000 a year,
Yeah. I hear stories about people in San Francisco, six-figure incomes, and they're homeless because they can't afford a place to live,
See, the problem about San Francisco is that they're unreal. They have $500,000 rent. Like, San Francisco is unreal. LA is as well, but you can work a job, get a roommate, and still kind of struggle and have a roof over your head. San Francisco, you have to be a millionaire to live there.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in the Golden Gate Bridge and you don't live on the other side of the Bay Area and you live on the San Francisco side, you're rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is, under the federal minimum wage, there is hardly any major city in the country that you could afford to live in.
You cannot afford to live anywhere, really. Is it not the case that in no area, state, city, whatever in the U.S., you cannot afford rent anywhere on minimum wage?
No, not here.
For buying a house is supposed to be that your mortgage should only be 25% of your income. With the federal minimum wage, there isn't any place that you can rent a studio apartment that won't be more than half of that income.
Yeah.
That's just a mess. I'm going to go check on Sewing Junior real quick. It's getting quiet.
I mean, I live in Florida, and the cost of living here is substantially less than where I grew up. Well, I mean, I spent my early childhood in Massachusetts, and we moved down here when I was a kid. And, like, I remember when my dad first moved here, he's like, wait, you want me to do what job for how much money? Because, like, the pay was, like, so much less than what he was used to making up in Massachusetts. But the cost of living was less, so it kind of averages out a little bit. But yeah, no, even in, like, the cheapest areas of Florida, you cannot survive on minimum wage. When I first moved out of my parents' house, I was 18, 19. And it was me and, like, 3 guys, and we were all chipping in for the rent. And I mean, it was a nice apartment. I mean, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, but we were paying like $1,000 a month, and this is in 2006, maybe. For, a relatively inexpensive area. It wasn't the most expensive apartment complex, but, like, just getting a 2-bedroom, 1-bath in that same apartment complex was like $700, $700. And again, this is back 15 years ago when, it was cheaper, although back then, I think minimum wage here in Florida was $5.50 an hour. So, because I know when I was in high school and beyond, like, it was $5.50. And I think Obama did raise the minimum wage a little bit. I think the $7.25 was Obama, like, in his first term, bringing it up from $5.50 to $7.25. But beyond that, it hasn't been touched, and that $7.25 is not where it needs to be. Had minimum wage kept up with inflation, we'd be almost $30 an hour right now. For minimum wage.
Here in this, it's a 512 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment in Pittsburgh. Not the best section of Pittsburgh, but not the worst either. Market rate would be, I think, it's $640 for the $620 or $640 for this place. Happily, I have a housing choice voucher. I'm on Section 8, so I can actually afford to live here for now.
Do you know for that same size here in the valley, it goes from 1,300 to 2,000, and in LA it's like 1,500 to 2,500.
Yeah, well, okay.
For the same size
700
apartment as you, Diana. The same size apartment as you.
Scheisse.
Yeah, it's robbery here.
Right.
$7.25 an hour at 40 hours a week comes out to be about $1,160 for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Minneapolis, which is only a mid-sized city and not one of the big destinations, I don't think you can get a studio apartment for less than $800. So after you pay,
Okay.
that leaves you $300 a month to buy food and pay all your utilities.
You know what's
It's not
funny?
happening.
Being from here, like my mind was like, "Ooh, I can work with that," because it's so outrageous here. It's so my ex-wife was paying $2,300 to be in a studio apartment.
Holy fucking shit!
Her and her husband moved, but it was outrageous.
Well, I knew that was going to be over 100 yesterday.
Well, that too. Yeah. Sloth Girl says 140 pardons.
But if you think about it, he probably charged a large amount of money for that. So Trump probably made a big chunk of change yesterday.
Yeah, because they were actually buying the chance to get a pardon with real money. It's like,
he gave a pardon to Lil Wayne and somebody else. I can't remember. And he gave a pardon to a guy who was convicted of espionage in 1986. He gave a pardon to, what's the other rapper's name?
Well, I don't know who it was for, but there was part of a conversation leaked that Giuliani had someone asking him if Trump would pardon him, and Giuliani told him that he could do it for $2 million.
How is this guy not in prison?
That's the thing. Yeah.
Wasn't that illegal to ask an extremely stupid question? Weren't things like that illegal?
I thought so.
For the president to be getting any financial gain for it, yes.
I've kind of lost count of all the things that I thought were illegal. They were apparently just guidelines.
Yeah, the president cannot take any kind of gifts or financial gain from it.
Yeah, and this is what's really going to be a whole bunch of fun, because the precedent of that sort of thing occurring is now set. Those who want to do so will have an easier time of it. The rest of us will have a harder time trying to put an end to it.
Absolutely.
Trump did a whole bunch of crap, a whole bunch of horrible crap, set many much precedents that are going to be hard to put away, get rid of. Yeah.
The problem is a lot of things were never actually codified into law, because it was always assumed that for anyone to get elected to that high of an office, they would have to be a gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And have enough mental wherewithal to not at least get caught.
I'm trying to show you that gentlemanly politics is not a good idea, that you need to codify all of these things into law. Otherwise, you'll end up, in a situation like we find ourselves now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's the difficult thing, because you've got to, anticipate pretty much everything. And no matter how much you anticipate, somebody's going to come up with something you hadn't thought of yet.
Always. Yeah. How are you doing, Melina's left kidney? How's it going?
I don't know. I think I haven't decided yet. It's a bit weird now he's gone, isn't it?
Yeah. What am I going to talk shit about?
Plus,
you come up with something. How about talking shit about this? There's some character out there, some lavender lady, whatever the
you're awesome.
Fuck that is. You know?
You're awesome. No, I as somebody who I look at real hatred like the pathological descent into violence. So I can't say that I hated Donald Trump, but I couldn't stand the human being to the point where if he came on TV, I'd change the channel. So
okay, then
I'm happy that I'm going to start watching American news again. I'm excited. I'm excited to find out what's going on in my country.
Yeah, there you go. The president's precedence. Yeah. Scheiße, Scheiße, zu viel Scheiße. Es ist scheißvoll.
It's going to be interesting because Trump left his hillbilly army with us.
Yeah, isn't that great?
So now we have these people who have been lied to and believe, one of the things about propaganda is they find disenfranchised people and they'll say, he's talking to me. They always find the people who are down and out, and those are the ones who follow mass movements.
Well, that's right out of the alt-right playbook. Yeah, absolutely.
So we have all these disenfranchised people with nothing to do. And, I have a neighbor who doesn't have a job. He gets up and minds his own business. He's not out there trying to wage war and take over the Capitol.
Yeah.
Well, okay, why don't the Democrats use that for actual causes?
Oh, I would. Oh,
why don't they explain to these people, in the poor southern states that healthcare for all means that you can see a doctor when you need to.
And you won't die of your teeth.
Well, I mean, part of that is a lot of Democrats aren't in favor of Medicare for all. So until they get on board with letting us catch up to the rest of the developed world, they're not going to frame it that way. And I hate to say it, even if they were on board, the Democrats absolutely suck at messaging and framing. Republicans run circles around them.
Oh, of course.
And another problem with the whole Medicare for all and everything else is there are too many people out there who do not want to pay for my genital surgery. And, they're so afraid that, some transy out there is going to get gender affirming surgery, which they can't stand. So, there's a lot of that going on, too.
It's because you live in a Republican state, though.
Yeah, really, I do. I mean, here in Pennsylvania, you've got Pittsburgh, you've got Philadelphia, you've got Harrisburg. And as I've said many times before, the rest of the state is as red as a used tampon on a heavy floating. Yeah.
That's a visual. That is certainly a visual.
Let me fill up my coffee. Oh, my.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with all these people who aren't left with their fear, because Donald Trump is going to abandon the cause. He does not have the mental wherewithal to be around 5 years from now. Excuse me. I hope he starts his network. I hope he fractures the Republican Party, but he's going to move out of America.
Well, I can see his kids building it on the name and kind of trying to keep him quiet in the background.
I hope he does the Patriot Party. I would fucking love to see that, because that would definitely kill the Republican Party.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So part of me wants to see that happen now, but it's kind of one of those things
have
where
an entire political party of First Amendment auditors.
Like I said earlier, I'm just going to enjoy the moment that he's gone. Ding dong, the orange orangutan is gone. I'm just going to enjoy the moment, when the house smashed him and his feet are hanging. Oh, wrong movie. But I'm just going to enjoy the moment where Trump's gone.
Like, I used to call him Twitler, but since he doesn't have a Twitter anymore, it's back to Mango Mussolini.
Oh, that was so delicious when he was deprived of his platform.
Yeah, no, like, that made me so fucking giddy.
When he was off of Twitter, I felt like 5 years were added to my life.
Probably were.
Less stress.
And like Trump, fucking misinformation went down 70%.
Because he's a fence. Somebody figured out that they could push their propaganda through this moron, and it worked.
Dio Corostal. Whatever that means. Yeah, that's pretty, isn't it?
Oh, I like that, yeah. Except it shouldn't be a green bin. I can't see them being recycled.
Ah!
Yeah, there you go.
I wouldn't want any of that.
I would hope not.
No, our green bins are rubbish, so that's fine. We'd understand in Australia.
But honestly,
Welcome
like
back.
compost, he's compostable.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
that is
I've
one
had
good
how
use
long's it
left.
been?
Welcome
I
back.
had a good half-hour nap.
Morning.
Is he compostable?
No.
All that
I
orange
mean, he's so
coloring
full
could
of
be
shit. Of
toxic.
course he is. He's practically already compost.
Yeah, but all that orange coloring could be toxic. It could poison the soil.
Exactly.
Ooh, yeah.
As somebody who grows plants, he's not good for the soil.
All right, fair point.
He's not good for much at all, really.
If I put him, no, I grow grapes. I have rose bushes. I grow chili peppers. He's bad for the soil.
My
So
son
if you detoxed him, would he just completely disappear?
If we turn our backs, like the old Arthurian legend with Queen Nab, will he disappear? If we all simultaneously just stop paying attention to him.
I don't think he'd just pick up pockets.
He's such a grifter. That's
Yeah,
like
I think he is all ego, so the fewer people that pay attention to him, the smaller he gets until he disappears into a pinprick.
Exactly.
Kind
There
of
is
like
a point to that.
the old gods, and like that it's a recurring trope that gods get their power from their believers. So like as fewer and fewer people believe in certain gods, they start losing, their almighty powers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
As a pagan, I used to believe that.
That one amazed me is when so many began to worship Trump. And I mean, actually worshipped him as a god, that he was heaven sent. And where the hell did that ever come from?
I know I say this a lot, but I don't understand those people. I don't get it.
Neither do I.
It came from the pulpit. It came because some evangelical preachers, for whatever reason, decided he was going to be good for them.
But Trump,
so then they convinced all their followers.
But Trump, of all people, you have to do some real gymnastics to think that he's a deity of any kind.
But if you think about it, like the evangelical mega pastors, they care about money. I would guarantee that at least half of them are actually secretly atheists. Like looking at you, Greg Locke. But and they're just grifters, you know.
The ones whose only real concern was their stocks doing well were going to support him.
True.
And they whip up their congregants in a fever pitch. Like that type of like spirit worship lends itself to, I mean, fuck, you've seen Jesus Camp, right? Kids ready to throw away their lives in the spiritual war for Christ. I mean, it's not that far of a stretch to see.
How many suicide cults have we seen?
Still to this day, the Hail Bop people trip me out. That was my era. That was my era. That was like less than 30 miles from my house.
Apparently, there are still 2 or 3 of them alive, and they're still running the website.
Yeah, they are.
It's amazing. Well, they were asked to. They were the ones who were asked not to kill themselves so that they could carry on the message.
What's that, Stool?
Can I do a sexism?
Go ahead.
Am I alive or am I dead?
I ask that question often. when I'm alone, I'm like, do I really exist, or am I just a dream going on repeat?
I'm not sure if I'm here or if I'm recording or not. I really don't know.
Well, you're moving on my
Well, I
screen.
might actually leave you and actually get some sleep, because that might be a good plan.
Yes, get some
I know, isn't it like 4 a.m?
It's only 4 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting better at guessing the time.
And if I keep nodding off, I'm not really contributing anyway. So have a good discussion, and congratulations on getting rid of the Tangerine Man.
Yep.
Yes.
You good sleep.
You gotta rest up. We have a dumpster fire tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Wolf beef.
But no, honestly, like Christianity in and of itself requires fantastical thinking. All religions do. And once you succumb to fantastical thinking, really anything's possible at that point as far as what you can end up believing. And then going to the not real thing, that like I've noticed this, like sometimes I'll get up, I'll go to the fridge, I'll open it up, I'll look, and then, close it, walk away, not having grabbed anything, and then turn around and go back and do it again, because it's like, I don't know what I want, but I kind of like go brain dead for a minute. And I honestly have thought, wait a minute, is there a green like gem over my head? Like, am I actually a simp?
I feel like that too sometimes. I took too much acid in high school, so it made me question reality.
See, I've never done acid. I'm pretty boring when it comes to that. I've consumed alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, weed. I did smoke a bit of weed in high school. And aside from that, I have taken ecstasy once in high school. And that's it. Like, I'm actually pretty vanilla when it comes to drugs.
I took way too many. I took 2/8 of mushrooms when I was 18ish, around there, and it scared me straight, and I never did a hallucinogen after that. I can't say I can't say I overdosed on mushrooms, but I took too much. But the one thing that was cool is that I ran to my parents' house, and they were cool enough to let me freak out in the living room. I'm just lucky.
Okay, that's great.
I'm lucky I had two parents that were alive during the 60s, because my parents were much older than me. And so they knew. My mom looked in my eyes. I looked like a Simpson character.
All right.
Your pupils are this big.
Your parents are older than you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, they were.
Who'd have thunk?
They were in their 40s when I was born.
That's very progressive of them.
Yeah, I certainly did not benefit from older parental units. The slimy bastards were 33 when they brought me home from the baby store, but they were 33 having been born in the 20s.
My dad was born
the wrong kind of 33.
My dad was born in 1939, and so were a lot of his beliefs. A lot of his beliefs.
He was born in 25. She was born in 24.
Well, just because I was the youngest of a big family, my dad was 43 when I was born.
The drop off of the generations were so huge that I didn't get along with my dad until I was in my 30s.
Ouch.
I never got along. Well, I never had a father. That's there was the male slimy bastard, and that's about it.
My parents, I was raised like harsh Roman Catholic, and so it made me like, when I was 17, I left. After I got confirmed, they're like, "Oh, you can do whatever you want," and I said, "Okay," and I got in a car and left, and didn't come back for almost 10 or 11 years.
How many former Catholics do we have in here? two that I know. 3. Okay.
I went to church every Sunday, catechism classes. My parents did not mess around.
Stool, were you ever Catholic, or are you the odd one out here?
Oh, I heard
a Catholic in the UK?
I didn't think so. Stool's the only one here who wasn't Catholic.
I was just busy laughing at a MAGA lady. That is so funny. What was the question again?
Were you raised Catholic?
No. No, I've always been normal. None of that.
Yeah.
Catholicism
will screw you up.
The one thing though is I was actually an altar boy back in the old days, and I never was molested. I kind of feel left out.
You stole my joke. Yeah.
No, I really was an altar boy, by the way.
I had a very back when I was a teenager and I was like doing acid and stuff. I had a priest tell me, like, "Hey, if you don't believe in Catholicism, go in the world, go find out. He told me, he's like, go be a Buddhist. He was like, go around the world. I took his advice. I went and found out. He was like, go research all different religions, you know. So I got good advice from a Catholic priest who was like, if you think this is BS, then it is. Go find something else. And it was the best advice I'd ever gotten from a grown man. You know,
that's great. At least he was confident enough in his faith to encourage your investigating others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because he told me, like, you know, this is not for everybody. Hearing that from a Catholic priest was kind of life changing, because my whole life they told me, you know, this is only for everybody, because you know that's their whole shtick.
When I was in Catholic grade school, we're talking mid-60s here, we were taught the line that it was a mortal sin to as much as attend the service of another faith.
Absolutely.
So you go to a Lutheran service, that's a one-way ticket to hell, you know, one of these deals. And, so that's a very insecure position to take, really, when you come down to it. And the obvious question is, why are you so afraid of us looking at other things?
Absolutely.
But they weren't.
You know, the funny thing is, at my church, we were the bad kids. Like, the first cigarette I smoked was behind the church. Like, I knew I could always get weed from my church buddies. The Catholic kids were fun. Like, we'd go find each other and get drunk on Friday nights. Like, the Catholic kids were fun.
The Catholic girls put out the most.
Exactly. I didn't want to say it.
I was a Catholic girl. I'll say it.
I had
because
fun
I've
growing
always
up.
been normal since day one. I've always assumed that most people in this country are normal. Apart from the odd weirdo, you know, here and there. But I just always assumed that most people were normal like me. And it's only relatively recently, since people like Atheist Donna and Little Sam. What's Little Sam's name?
Sam Chaos.
Yeah. He lives like a stone's throw away from me. And he lives in a creepy village where they're all creepy people who do religious creepy stuff.
Okay.
I didn't realise it was a thing over here.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, it must be nice to live in a place where most people are, as you say, normal. They're not obsessed with their gods or with their identity badges. That's the way it was with slimy bastards. They couldn't recite a plank of Catholic doctrine to save their lives. It was an us versus them thing. You know, we are Catholic, so we're us. You're not, so you're them.
I feel like that. I feel the same way. My parents were the same way. They're politically Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if it had any kind of politics to do with Catholicism, they were there. But like you said,
to be over here, as far as I can make out, the whole religion bollocks tends to be for the older people, but not all of them. But if you were to go into a whatever flavour church, we don't have as many flavours of church as you guys do. But if you were to go into into one of ours, you'd probably find
here in the US,
pretty empty, and it would just be full of old people who've got head cancer or something, and they've decided that they want to, you know.
Not here.
Here in the US, any schmuck with a $2 prayer book can found a religion. You know, it's
that is a big
total open season. Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens.
The only thing, can I please do my sexism now?
Why?
Do my sexism.
Go for it.
Go up for it, you racist.
You racist fucker. I'm really enjoying watching the lady doing some ironing.
Okay.
Sexist. Racist. That is so racist.
You see,
I'm actually taking notes right now.
Yeah, but you're special.
I like Kitty. I am extremely special. My mom keeps telling me so.
She had you tested as well.
I have a patch that says that. I just don't want to put it on because I'm too old for it.
The only thing that, because I went to my primary school, whatever you guys call those, elementary school, is just 5 minutes away from here. And it's what you would call a Church of England school.
Ooh, I know what that is. I know exactly what
it
that
means. It means nothing. It's just a school with a name. And so
Yeah,
every
but in
morning
America, we don't have RS.
I had no idea what that means. So, but the
Religious
only thing,
studies? You know it, religious
yeah,
studies.
yeah, but whatever. So the only thing that we did, and this is when you're little kids, you had to have sing a hymn or something in the morning. That was pretty much it. And then at harvest festival time, we all got trotted out to go to the church because it had a church same name kind of thing. They were related. You go up there with your little cans of soup to give to the poor people, and that was pretty much it. And then once you reach the age of 10, you get confirmed, which means you're then allowed to drink the juice and eat the stuff. And then you realise, well, it's all bollocks, so I think I'll stay in bed. That's pretty much it.
Well, part of the problem here in the U.S. is that the country was founded by religious crazies that even Holland didn't want. And remember, they were the most tolerant country in Europe at the time.
Exactly. Could you imagine if we were founded by them and not the Puritans?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Is the imagine were we founded by the Dutch?
Yeah, instead of
Yeah. It might have worked out a little bit better in that area.
Yeah, on the other hand, can you imagine, if the Spanish had more to do with it?
Ooh.
That would have been a trip down.
Yeah, we would have had a new incarnation of the Spanish Inquisition in the 1500s here.
Yeah,
I would have expected it because nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
And I love those cute red hats.
But no, I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, like, to me, Church of England always seemed like more of a hobby than a religion.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
Aren't they like the decaf Diet Coke version of church?
Like I say, as far as I mean, technically I am one of them. But
I would say that the Church of England only exists because King Henry wanted to get rid of his wife, but he still needed a bishop to say he was legitimate.
That's hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty hardcore. I'm going to create my own church because I want a divorce.
I literally think the only thing that will get the Church of England riled up is saying you want to replace them with Catholics.
Didn't Guy Fawkes? Didn't Guy Fawkes try that? Didn't Guy Fawkes try that? What's his name? Guy Fawkes. Didn't he try that?
Guy Fawkes was a dirty Catholic, which is really funny actually, because all the racists over here, they're quite into Guy Fawkes because they think he's one of us, and they don't realise that he was a Catholic.
Hardcore Catholic.
He was pretty hardcore, yeah. And the knuckle dragging racists over here like to pretend that they're religious, which means Church of England, but they're fake as fuck. They really are.
Same thing here. It's the same thing here. Evangelicals hide behind an American flag, but they could care less what country they live in as long as they could, fulfill their weird prophecies.
Well, how many of them?
It's never been any kind of issue for me whatsoever at all in my life, because it's just not an issue over here whatsoever. The majority
how many of the
don't give a shit.
How many of the politicians in this neighborhood here in the U.S. have said publicly, my allegiance is to God first and then the Constitution?
They all say it. Even here where no one cares, they say it. No one.
Literally, it upsets me that they even have prayers and invocations and all of that, because we're supposed to be a secular country. Separation of church and
state. That reminds me. What was that? What was that ceremony last night with Camilla Harris and President Biden and they had a preacher. It was at a COVID memorial, I think.
Yes, it was the first COVID memorial that has happened, even though we've lost nearly 500,000 people. They did a memorial for essentially all of the Americans that died because of COVID.
I have everything on mute. When I watch the news channels, I put it on mute.
I missed it. I only found out about that thing after the event. Was it any good?
I mean, it was just...
When they start praying, I mute it when they start praying.
Yeah, like when it comes down to it, I think that it needed to happen because there are a lot of religious people in this country. And at this point, I think every American knows somebody that they've lost to this pandemic. I mean, just by the numbers alone, when it comes down to it, you have nearly 500,000. You know, sure, we have 300 million people in the country, but 400,000 dead people. I think, while maybe not closely related at this point, everybody's lost somebody to COVID. So when it comes down to it, I think we needed it for, national healing.
Yes,
I've
sorry,
lost,
sorry, but you lot are amateurs because we're winning in the COVID.
There you go.
I don't know if that's something that you want to be proud of.
Well, I mean, we have this country has 4% of the world's population, but 20% of the world's COVID deaths. So
USA. Yeah.
Or no, sorry, 50.
Yikes.
No, sorry.
No, I thought it was
25, not 50. Sorry. How many people have died total of COVID now? And we have 400,000. I'm gonna have to look that up.
400. You want the number of deaths worldwide, or
worldwide deaths? Yes.
I believe that's over 2 million.
It is over 2 million as of sometime last week.
Okay, so then we're at about 20%, 20 to 25% of the world's COVID deaths when we have about 4% of the world's total population.
Yeah, but Stool is correct that even despite the much smaller population, the UK has now passed the US in number of deaths per day.
Wow.
So they're going to catch up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's literally the only thing we're winning at the moment.
That's not good because it's outrageous here in LA. So I can only imagine where you are.
We can't sell our fish and we can't get any food. But hey, we're winning in the COVIDs.
Yikes.
The world is still fucked up. Just because he's gone.
It amazes me that even simply Allegheny County here in Pennsylvania is 1,300 deaths.
Wow.
When you consider that Allegheny County's population is only about 1 million and some. So you're talking 0.1%, which is a rather high figure. What have we got here?
I remember watching Allegheny County election night. Man, I got the closest to being drunk I've been in years on election night. Not gonna lie. In fact, I turned the cork from the bottle into a Christmas ornament because I couldn't find my corkscrew to open the bottle of wine that I was chugging from. So I grabbed my power drill and a pair of pliers, and I held onto the bottle while Chris pulled the pliers and the screw with the cork on it until we got it open. And I turned it into a Christmas ornament because why the fuck not?
That's awesome.
There you go.
That's awesome.
I have never been so desperate for alcohol in my life as that night when the numbers started coming in and I started to panic.
If you get an old Swiss Army knife, they're almost the same size as the inside of a bottle.
But it's quite amazing. I mean, even this, relative to the state of Pennsylvania, this is a little bit of sanity here, and still how backward it is.
On average here, we have 469 people die a day, and we've had 34,390 people die. So that's almost 35,000.
Okay, so you're talking LA County, right?
Yeah, that doesn't count. Our cases are 3.3 million. So we have 3 million COVID cases, and there's only 10 million people in that. Well, not only that, there's 10 million people in LA County.
Yes,
so,
so
3
30%
million.
of the county
Yeah,
has the COVID. Yeah,
that's insane. Those numbers are insane. That's high. That's unreal.
Can't even trust the numbers, because here in the state of Florida, there was actually a researcher that, got fired, and then the state government went after her because she exposed that they were faking the COVID numbers. They were putting out fake numbers.
I saw that.
Yeah, she just turned herself into the authorities, and she's got the COVID, has she not?
I'm not sure.
You're
into that.
You are right about, well, it's different here, but you are right about the numbers. People were lying so much for Trump. We may never know how many people really had COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody who was anywhere near the numbers wanted to blame COVID deaths on something else. Their heart quit beating, so it was a cardiac death, right?
Yeah, at 25. At 25, it's ridiculous. Or they'll call it pneumonia or the flu. Sorry, not that many people have died of the flu last year, the year before that. Not that many people as have for because of COVID.
Yeah. They were actively suppressing the numbers, and it's like, come on, really.
Because what's going to happen is Biden is going to get on a podium one day and say, you know what, the numbers are 10 times worse. I guarantee. Like I said this a year ago, I think he's going to put us in a nationwide lockdown, and people are going to freak out.
That's a bad thing. It might be what we need.
As long as Congress is sending money to people, It will be okay. If we get a temporary COVID related UBI where it's like everybody's getting $2,000 a month, and we lock down for say 2 months, and continue the moratorium on rent and mortgage payments, and then Congress is going to have to do something to help people with the back pay for their mortgages and rents, because honestly, I mean, for mortgages it would be easy. Just basically say that the banks will take whatever is owed and tack it on to the end of the mortgage, so it's
absolutely
basically, all right, you're good, we're not going to charge you anything for this. You just it'll just get added to
not even interest accruing.
Yeah. And just make it so you can even say that they can't charge interest on that amount, if you want to be really nice, or otherwise literally just put it at the end.
Yeah.
But for rent, that's a little bit more complicated, because you can't just say, oh, well, we forgive all the rent, because the property owners, they have bills they got to pay too.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
yes.
I mean, at that point, you would need either the government to step in and pay the rent, or the government via the Treasury to give zero interest loans to people for, so basically their rent gets paid, and then, they pay it back. And I don't know if it be through taking something out of their checks via a tax to help pay it back, to lessen the blow, where it's, a smaller payment, going on, and maybe do a 10-year loan or something, give them 10 years to pay back the money needed for this last year. I don't know. I don't know the best way forward, but those were just some ideas that I had.
Yeah,
something needs to be done.
Folks could actually afford to repay such loans. Yeah,
exactly.
Something
needs to be done.
Close to the wire now that I don't know. And there's the thing: you've got to do it right away.
Years.
Yeah, you've got to do it right away, because this is when we can do it. This is when we've got Democrats everywhere. The Republicans aren't the fascist. Well, I'll still say fascists, because
they are. They are.
But you have to get the Democratic majority mobilized to actually do it, because we've got the chance now. And unfortunately, the way things are polarized, I forget who I saw write this, but the only way you're going to get any meaningful legislation enacted anymore is when the entire government is held by one party. And now we've got it, and let's do something with it.
Yeah, it seems like the only time the Democrats and Republicans actually work together is to fuck us over with, giving tax cuts to the wealthy. And
because they are the wealthy.
Well, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
They're a part. That's why I kind of laughed when I kind of cheered when I saw George Bush, Barack Obama, but those are our ruling class.
Mhm.
Because we've passed the mantle back to all these people, and I'm not into conspiracy theories. I'm not into any. I think it's all bunkus when people say, "Oh, they're part." No, I just see with my own eyes. They're all in cahoots with each other, And I'm not saying I'm not putting any conspiracy theories behind that. I'm just saying we have a ruling class of rich people in this country.
Oh, yes. No argument from me.
They were on full display today, and I like some of them. I think Barack Obama is a cool guy. I have a ridiculous. I keep this picture here for when I make bad purchases online. I need an adult to look at me, so I have a picture of Barack Obama squinting, and I laminated it too. I put it on my computer for when I make bad purchases. I look at it, I'm like, oh, do I really need to spend money on that?
Oh, my. Yeah.
That picture is the adult in the room when I'm on Amazon. I and I know Barack Obama was just as evil as everybody else, but my whole point is, they're part of the elitists. And the gap is becoming like this.
Yeah, well, and that's the real problem with our system, is that nobody can get elected to a federal office without having, at this point, close to $1 billion behind them.
That's crazy.
You will never get a working class person elected to the federal Congress.
Exactly. That was gonna be my next question. How can a working class person ever compete with that?
He did it. Ayanna Pressley, fucking Ilhan Omar, like a lot of them, and they didn't take corporate money. Like one thing that I appreciate Cenk Uygur and Kyle Kulinski for doing is after Donald Trump was elected, that year they started the Justice Democrats. Now they're not involved with it any longer. But the Justice Democrats were, meant for kind of doing what the Tea Party did to the Republican Party, but on the Democratic side, get progressives that, have a platform of fighting for higher minimum wage, for Medicare for all, for tuition-free college, for,
Well, and I think the single most meaningful reform we could have to our system is if they would enact ranked choice voting.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would give a chance for candidates who don't have the financial backing, who don't have a major party affiliation, that they could actually get into office.
Also, overturning Citizens United and campaign finance reform. Make it so that it's public funding of elections. So you vet the people and then everybody gets an equal amount of money, and airtime and stuff like that. And it's publicly funded as opposed to private interests getting involved.
That's what it goes back to what I was saying about having oversight. There's nothing wrong with having oversight to where we could make things equal for people.
Well,
more equal.
The ranked choice voting, though, is something that we could implement. It's something that would be realistic to get going with a grassroots movement.
Absolutely.
Because rather than it being a federal change, it would be a change to the way each state handles the elections. So groups working in each state could push their state legislature to have the ranked choice voting. And it could be done without it needing like an act of the federal Congress. And I think, once it gets to the point that half the states adopt it, I think basically everyone would have to fall in.
I agree.
So it's just like the way that legalizing weed has been going through. It's going to start with 1 or 2 states, and with each election cycle, we could, pick up a few more states in it. basically everybody's afraid of it because they don't understand it. So somebody's got to do it to show how it works.
And that it saved certain schools around here, not in my town, but in LA. Like the pot tax money works. It works if it gets given to the right people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as far as the tax money, you have to make sure that the committees who are doing the allocation have some people in there who are actually affected by it.
True. I think that's the problem here, is that we have extremely rich people who oversee everything. Like even locally in the school district, my son's school has brought certain kids back because it's a hardcore Republican school, and legally the kids aren't supposed to be on any campus, you know. But I think they're trying to show people that coronavirus isn't real. And it's because people are rich and out of touch in this town. And they don't understand that, you know, just because we have good healthcare doesn't mean that you're going to survive the coronavirus.
Yeah, and people need to understand that surviving it doesn't mean you'll be as healthy as you were when you started.
I'm a born asthmatic. You do not want to walk around like somebody is standing on your chest. My entire life, I've been working with like basically 1.5 lungs. It's not a good way to live.
I actually had asthma. Like, it's cleared up. Like, I developed asthma from smoking. And back when swine flu was a thing in 2009, 2010, I ended up spending a week in the hospital with asthma-related complications of swine flu. So, like, COVID scares me. Like, granted, my lungs are way healthier now, but still, I mean, nobody wants to feel like they can't breathe. Like, literally, I've tight-laced a corset, and that is nothing compared to what I felt in the hospital when I had swine flu. And it's not fun.
I'm very, very happy that I finally quit smoking. 2.5 years ago, I decided I just had to quit. That was after 49 years. So it was getting to the point where I couldn't even talk anymore. I sounded like Kenny Rogers with an extra helping of gravel.
I got to the point where I quit smoking nicotine 2 years ago. It was like 2 summers ago. So it's like 2.5 years ago. I got to the point where I would smoke a cigarette and then hit my inhaler. And then I would smoke another cigarette and hit my inhaler again, you know? And I had to have a real conversation with myself and say, hey, do you want to see 60 or maybe 70? You know, you got to stop now. And it was the hardest drug. Nicotine was the hardest drug I've ever walked away from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I went through real life withdrawals. I became crazy dragon lady screaming at people. Like, I would have fits of rage. I went through real life withdrawals because I smoked for 20 years. And I was not ready for it.
Yeah, for me, the first week was not a problem, probably because it took me that long to get rid of all the nicotine that was built up in my tissue. And then after that, for at least 1.5 years, it was the slightest bit of stress would send me into cravings. I mean, I still have the occasional craving. I think there will never be a time when I am craving free. But it's a whole lot better now than it was.
Still to this day, I have dreams that I'm smoking. I haven't smoked a cigarette because I started smoking pipe tobacco like 4 or 5 years ago. So up until I quit, I was smoking Captain Black. So I was smoking pipe tobacco.
I know the stuff. Yeah, so did I, as a matter of fact. I used to roll my own.
Well, I miss that. I miss that too. I miss Captain Black. But my whole point is, the weirdest thing, I have dreams all the time that I'm sitting in the park smoking a cigarette like back in high school. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I still smoke in my dreams. Yeah, definitely.
So that chemical craving is still there deep down inside, in my brain, because that's where our dreams come from.
Yeah, and what's really fun is I almost always, like 99% of the time, dream lucidly. I'm always aware that I am dreaming.
Me
so
too.
Here I am smoking in my dream, and wait a minute, Clarion, you quit, but you're
Okay. You know what's weird? And I don't know why this doesn't happen with anyone else. But whenever Julie's running her stream and she lights up a cigarette, I can smell it. But it only happens with her.
Okay.
It only happens with Julie. It doesn't happen if anyone else is smoking in the chat.
I know what I know what you're saying. I know exactly.
Just somehow that brings back to when I was living with my fiance when she was still smoking.
That's the interesting thing you mentioned about
Maybe it's
smelling.
because it's all the books around her probably is an association with that.
The fun thing is that you mentioned the smelling the cigarettes. I've actually got my sense of smell back, and even outdoors, I can detect a cigarette at 100 yards. It's weird, but I've got that much of my sense of smell back.
So I want to say like 3 weeks ago to almost a month ago, these kids were smoking cigarettes in front of the grocery store. And first they said sir to me, and I was like, oh, I'm finally that age. And so I kind of grumbled like, and then they were like, oh, sir, we're sorry. I'm like, I pulled my mask because they were a good 10, 15 feet away. I pulled my mask and I said, no, kids, you keep smoking. And I sniffed the air like I was the Rock. Like I missed smoking, but I can't because I wouldn't be here right now if I continued smoking cigarettes. That's how bad my lungs were.
Well, my fiance also had severe
I'm an
asthma.
asthmatic. Yeah, I'm an idiot for smoking in the first
My
place.
fiance had severe asthma to the point that we were in the ER about once a month. And the only thing she finally quit because she saw the effect the secondhand smoke had on me.
Okay, then, yeah, it's a great thing that I quit because I got that sense of smell back, and cigarettes smell terrible to me. I don't like the aroma anymore.
For me, it's I'm for when I walk in. I used to not smell cigarettes. Now, when I walk into a person's house that profusely smokes, that makes me physically ill. I like the smell. I like the smell of cigarette smoke in a woman's hair because I'm trashy. I love the smell of cigarette smoke, but when it's in the furniture or like even one of the trucks I own, I bought it off a woman who had to smoke 3 packs a day. She was an Army Ranger. She was tough, but she smoked like a choo-choo train. And I got in the truck and it dawned on me I don't smoke cigarettes anymore because it took me almost a month to get that smell out. And honestly, the truck still smells like cigarette smoke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've owned it for a year and I'm getting rid of it and it still smells like cigarette smoke.
Like for me, in April, it'll be 10 years since I quit smoking. I actually switched to vaping. And when I started, I was very high on the nicotine. I was like, I don't know, 32 or 36 milligrams of nicotine. And then as I got down, like I've gone less and less and less. And I don't think I can even go less. I mean, yeah, technically I could, but I'm down to only 3 milligrams of nicotine in the juice, and I make it myself. And while I could probably go to like 1.5, I would then be vaping a lot more because the lower I go in nicotine, the more often I'm vaping. And so I found 3 is a good level where I get the satisfaction of the nicotine without getting like the nick headaches or like a nick buzz because it's too high. And I'm not vaping as much as I would be if I tried lowering it. But like, I don't know, to me, I think I'll probably always have that little bit of the crutch of the nicotine. Like I deal with chronic pain, and when I'm in pain or anxious, like the nicotine helps. And my lungs, I don't have asthma anymore. I haven't had an asthma attack in years. No need for a rescue inhaler. So for me, this helped clear up my lungs. And so, I get to cheat a little bit. Like I get all the benefits of quitting without having to actually give up the nicotine.
Well, the nice thing,
how's it going, Genesis?
Hello. I just wanted to say I went down from 60 milligrams to 50, and I'm staying at 50, and I vape profusely, but yeah.
I don't think I could have quit had I gone to the vaping as a substitute. For me, anyway, cutting down never worked. I tried that many times in the years past. I had to just put it all down cold turkey, and that's the only way it worked.
Yeah,
I did. I'm allergic to the patch. I found out the hard way. I'm like highly allergic to the patch.
On what Will was saying before about his truck, though, I remember the first time I borrowed my brother-in-law's car. Was that first thing I did, when I went to the gas station, trying to wash the windows so I could see. And then I realized that was on the inside. There was such a thick yellow haze on the inside of the windows that I couldn't see through the windshield.
And smokers don't I was a heavy smoker, and I didn't realize how much I reeked. When I go into my storage unit and I could smell everything smells like pipe tobacco. My entire storage unit still reeks of my old pipes. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Nicotine hangs. It hangs.
Oh, and absolutely.
And the funny thing is, you could smoke pot all day. It will not. It'll smell, even with the really stinky stuff. It'll smell, but it eventually goes away. So there's a trade-off. And I won't even lie. Pot being legal really helps me quit smoking nicotine, because I smoke way less pot than I ever would. I would smoke all day long, profusely.
Okay.
And then I got to the point where I said, "Oh, when packs are when they hit $4.50, I'm going to quit smoking." I quit smoking when they were like $7.
I'm trying to think here. I quit commercial cigarettes. I quit buying them at the stores 30 years ago. Then I rolled my own for 20. Then I switched. I smoked a pipe for a while, as well as the cigars that you get 5 in a box.
Oh, heck yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I probably have one laying around. I would order, and it came through Louisiana, cans of Captain Black. I used to buy those. And, I would buy 6 of them, and it would be it would be 100 or something, but it would last me 7 months, 8 months. It would almost be a year before I'd have to reorder it. And every time I'd open up, the can was still fresh. It was still almost wet inside when I opened it up, I
used to smoke a pound every 6 weeks of tobacco.
The issue
I'm trying to think of what I was gonna say, and I lost it. This is what happens when you get old, by the way. The mind is the second thing to go, and I forget what the first is. Yeah.
The issue with me,
let me tell you.
The issue with me quitting is I literally live in a city called Cigar City, right? Like we have some really good cigars, and plus in Tampa, if you don't smoke cigarettes, you're not depressed enough. Cigarettes everywhere. You look on the side of a street in the gutter, there's just cigarettes. Like the city is a mess. But
Portland, Oregon was like that when I lived there. I don't think I knew someone who didn't smoke cigarettes. Every single person I associated with always had a pack of ciggies on them.
What's the issue is now, because back when I was in high school, like if you wanted to get into nicotine because you thought you were cool or you thought it was a funny joke, right? You would go for a cigarette. Nowadays, kids are vaping in the bathrooms. Like my niece just got caught vaping. And I'm very disappointed in her, because if I could have not smoked cigarettes, I probably would have, but I was a stupid kid, right? So it's like,
oh yeah, tell me.
Oh, it's one of those things where you look back and you're like, the The sad thing is, I don't give it certain kinds of advice because I know people aren't going to take it. Like, I don't tell people, oh, don't. I watched my dad die of emphysema. You don't want to go down that route. I watched a strong Vietnam vet, crazy guy, was literally drowning in his own lungs. You know, that if that doesn't scare you straight, I don't know what will. You know, but on the same hand, I'm not going to tell someone not to smoke because I would have told someone to F off if they had told me not to smoke. You know.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm just glad I don't smoke that much anymore. Like I'll have if I go to a party, right? Like, and I know it's gonna be a binge drinking party, I'll bring a pack of cigarettes, share them with some people, right? But I don't buy a pack every day. Well, I used to buy 3 every day. Well, I would buy like a carton at a time and just smoke 3 a day.
Yeah, I used to buy cartons. That's how bad I got.
I was buying, a pack of cigarettes would have lasted me 15 minutes.
Hey, when I was in my 20s, I would budget in cartons. So every paycheck, I would go and buy 2 cartons because I knew I'd be broke by the time the next paycheck came around. I knew I would be dead broke, you know. So I
was 16 years old and 3-pack a day Camel smoker.
Oh wow!
That's right, 4-pack a day.
My thing was Camel Crush. It still is. You know, the Crush menthols. You bite the filter and.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay.
Yeah. I used to. I was gross. I would rip filters out. I smoked non-filters until the day that I came back to California. I smoked non-filters. Gosh, for I want to say 12, 13 years. My dad walked up to me and he's like, Camel non-filters are what killed his father. So him telling me that is what got me to stop smoking Camel non-filters because his father died in his 50s.
Okay.
He was young and he died of lung cancer, you know.
That's what I was smoking when I was 16 is the Camel non-filters. The
Camel nons, they are the most addicting cigarettes. Once they get in your bloodstream, I would crave those things.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't the joke like a while ago? If you're desperate, you smoke Camels.
Camel. Well, see, when I was a kid, it was like only Marlboro and Camel and like all the off brands. We had True and Royal, but it was like
Parliament menthol lights for me. That was mine. I mean, I started on Cowboy Killers and then switched menthol and then went to Parliament menthol lights.
I smoked Marlboros forever.
I really like Newports. Have you ever had Newports?
No, they made me physically ill.
They're really strong. I will say that. Like, it's like a cigar almost. Yeah. But I've only smoked those a few times. They're pretty long too, but they're like pretty expensive.
That's another thing. Like I was 17 getting cartons of 100s. Because I wanted that extra cigarette, ripping the filter out. I smoked non-filters forever. Oh,
another one I really liked
for years.
Another one I really liked was the Salem's, like the black label where it had the slide sideways box and it had the one with the green paper on the filter. It was the lucky one at the end.
I remember those.
I'm not sure I remember those.
I smoked so much that I would save up my Camel Cash and Marlboro Miles. I still have a coat too. It's like I hope they buried me when I die in the cancer ward. I earned that one.
I have a leather jacket that I wear all the time. If and when I die, I want to be buried in it or cremated in it. No, that would be cool. Like I could be like Ghost Rider for like the briefest of seconds where I'm just a flaming skull in a leather jacket.
That would be cool. That would. My pops always said he wanted to be buried in his truck. But then we figured out it would be $500,000 to bury it in 1988 Ford F-150. So, so we didn't do it.
Well, when I die, as Hamlet would have said, they're going to find me when they nose me, and Sylvia's already half eaten my corpse.
Actually,
get ready, Paul.
I want a Viking style funeral. Like I want to be cremated in a Viking style funeral. Like lay me down on a bed of roses that you've dusted with thermite because we got to make it interesting. Archery, light me up, and then make sure to scoop up all of the ashes and send them over to Gemesis and turn me into a precious gem.
Roses covered in thermite. You're gonna cause like a small explosion.
Heck yeah.
It'll be fun though.
It would be fun.
I just want someone to sing November Rain at my funeral because I love that song. Would make everyone cry.
Can I be frozen in a block of vape juice mixed with really hardcore resin?
Well, it depends on where you live. Maybe you can.
Now, I want to be put someplace that I'll fossilize. We know enough about the process. We should be able to find a location for it, so that 1,000 years from now, I can be a museum exhibit.
That would be awesome. No joke. I looked into those pods where you get put in, you basically get turned into a tree.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I seriously started looking into those. There's quite a few options, actually, if you look. Surprising. There's quite a few companies that provide a service that will put you under a tree, literally.
Something about the paperwork. I have thought of donating my body to science. I've got a totally screwed up brain, and I'm sure that somebody would like to have a look at it.
I was thinking about that too, because I survived my brain being shut off completely for more than 2 hours.
Wow.
And so when I pass, you could do whatever you want. Yeah. You could do whatever you want with. I won't be there to remember it.
Wait, were you put under cryo? Is that the way it works?
No, I overdosed, and when I came to, I was in a hallway with all the people that OD'd that day and had died, and the nurse he threw his clipboard and made a really big deal. And then they put me up in the ICU after that. I was in a hallway downstairs. Like they had me in a meat locker hallway. Like I remember the paddles being put on me, and that's it. And then waking up in the hallway, and it felt like no time had passed at all.
Yeah, that's the way it works. Okay, this is quite interesting. Hannity, what is your point? 400,000 Americans are not Biden's problem. I mean, really?
Yeah, did we expect any worse?
They don't get it. These people, if America does, if we do all end up killing each other, it will be because of those grifters, because of those people who can't stop stoking the fire and don't understand how living in the community works. Unfortunately, we all have to figure it out together, or we're all going to lose together. I'm sorry, but
one of the good things is that Fox News is really slumping in the ratings.
Well, yeah, because they went after Trump, I think, or they didn't go after Trump, but they started being anti-Trump, and then like all of their fucking hardcore conservatives that watch them stopped giving a shit because they started bad-mouthing Trump, and it's like
the usual Fox
because they started fact-checking some of the claims about the stolen election.
They all switched to OAN and that other one.
Of course, Greg Locke is already having a meltdown on Twitter too.
Dude, I've been seeing people retweeting Greg Locke, and I've seen him in replies and shit, and he just seems like a batshit crazy person.
Oh, he is.
Look, I'm not saying this as an insult. Really, I'm not. But it appears to me that Locke is actually psychotic, that he is actually living in a reality of his very own that has nothing to do with the common reality that the rest of us experience.
He's not well, considering all the things that he did to his ex-wife.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sloth Girl. Yeah, that's my whole thing is that I have the brain problem, and somebody might actually learn something from that. So, well, not only do I have the brain problem, but I'm trans, and there have been many much experiments on brains post mortem. Maybe they could learn something from mine.
Yeah, that's what I think too. That if after I die, if they could dissect my brain and it teaches them something about what causes autism.
Mm-hmm. It's just that I've got to get the paperwork done, and then I've got to have a way to get the body to wherever it needs to go before it turns into a soup.
See, my whole thing is I would like to donate my body to science, but also I'm conflicted because I want to donate my body to a heavy metal band for a music video. Because just imagine imagine a naked trans body that's dead, like hanging in the back of a heavy metal music video. That's like the most metal thing ever.
If you mail your body to Sweden, they'd put you in a video in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm gonna try to donate my body to science, and I'm afraid that when they start cutting into it, they're gonna say it's science fiction.
There you go. Oh my word! So that amazes the hell out of me. That so it seems that Locke is actually admitting that Trump is not president, huh?
Well, he can't be in denial anymore that his fear isn't in office. He literally left under the YMCA song.
Oh man, I'm one who would have expected Locke to go on about Donald Trump still being president in a bunker somewhere.
When this stream is over, I'm gonna put YMCA on the loudspeakers and annoy my neighbors. I'm gonna play the whole song at full decibel, and I want to do the dance and everything.
Oh my.
They taught that to my generation. They taught us that at PE, so I know that song all through and through.
that is actually, if you know the MAGA crowd before the rallies, before Trump's Klan rallies. A photography trick is to get people to do the YMCA movements because it gets them moving. You get some nice pics, but the MAGA crowd being a bit. They don't realize what they're doing, and so they would all stand there doing the fucking dance to the YMCA, to village people, and none of them knows.
To be fair, they're Trumpers. They're begging for a ruler and a dictator.
You know what's funny? I just remembered this. So there's a video that at the Trump rally outside of a Capitol before it became like what it became. Some lady was giving a speech and she's like, Hitler got one thing right.
Oh fuck.
Like I forget what she says after that, but it doesn't even matter because you're giving props to Hitler. Like what the fuck?
They don't get it. They don't understand.
It's embarrassing.
It is. I agree. I agree with you.
The funniest MAGA person from the Capitol thing was Mace Lady. She was hilarious.
When it gets
one who
quiet,
got mixed in the face and got sad about it.
Yeah, she was really sad, and the reporter says something like,
"Is that the one?"
And she said, "But we were trying to have a civil war."
Is that the one where they had a picture of her carrying an onion?
Yeah,
I haven't seen the onion part. I haven't seen the onion part, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because I can't remember if those two are the same person or if they're not the same person, but what does it matter?
Apparently, there were some people who were trolling the protesters by telling them that the way to neutralize the mace was to rub onions on their face.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is diabolical, and I kind of love it.
Absolutely. I don't feel sorry. I had this, Jen and I had this talk. When you storm a Capitol and try to take over a government, certain things are going to happen to you. So if you get kicked in the face, if you get shot, trying to usurp the government that I'm, the country I live in, I'm not going to feel sorry for you. If you get maced, I'm going to laugh at you.
Well,
I'm sorry. But
aren't the criers and whiners on the no-fly lists just wonderful?
oh,
to my soul, seeing
Absolutely.
them
Absolutely.
cry and moan. They're taking away my freedoms, man.
Why is it? I know why, but isn't it amazing how the people who clamor so much about freedoms have no concept of responsibility?
It's because a lot of them have never had to fight for anything in their life. That is the sign of people who have never been told no.
I would disagree with that. I would disagree with that because there are a lot of like soldiers who fall into the Proud Boys and the MAGA and the the rest of the right groups, and like I don't think it's a matter of they just were handed everything their whole life. I think it's that they have a false sense of what the freedom of speech or like freedom to protest, things like that, what that actually means.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean
nationalism. False nationalism.
It doesn't mean freedom from responsibility. It doesn't mean freedom from consequence. It means that the government can't stop you.
That's the generational thing, though, because that's what my generation's biggest beef is that a lot of people I know feel that younger people didn't have consequences, and so because of that we have a generation of people who didn't get beat up by their parents, which I'm not saying was a good thing, saying, oh, I want my freedoms and I want my rights, and the older generation is like, what freedom and rights don't you have?
Well,
I think it's a generational thing, at least for me, because even with certain groups that I agree with, I think they're whiny babies, and I agree with them. I think there are certain sides that I agree with, and I'm like, wow. Like, I'll tell you, my entire generation was told no one cares about your feelings. Go get a job. Go work for the rest of your life. So there's a lot of people my age, when people start talking about feelings, we're like, it gets confusing.
But I think
it gets confusing.
I think the groups that we're talking about, like they're not a single generation though, right? Like you'll see older folks, you'll see younger folks. You'll see who was that one guy who ate shit on the concrete after like getting physically violent? Like there's that old guy who was being super aggro to protesters, and he was part of, I don't remember if it was a KKK or a different white nationalist group. And then you'll have someone like Caitlin Bennett, who's a college kid.
Oh,
right?
She's a wreck.
You'll have this multi-generational thing where they're all saying, oh, we have a freedom to this, we have a freedom to that. Yeah, but like, and I'm gonna lump anti-maskers with this because anti-maskers also talk about this is a free country all the time, right? So like you'll have all of these different people calling out for their freedoms. They're too stupid to understand what those freedoms mean. Like it doesn't mean your society won't go after you. It doesn't mean canceling someone or like getting someone off of a private platform, right? Like Twitter, Donald Trump being banned from Twitter, perfectly fine because Twitter is not a governmental institution. If it was like a .gov, then they probably couldn't. But like, it's stupid.
Yeah, and these anti-maskers, they would go apeshit if a woman went into a store topless.
Absolutely. The whole anti-masker thing, I try not to understand. I don't understand. I'm not trying to die or take 20 years off of my life because of a virus. That is real.
Why? How is it that they have decided this is a conspiracy? How does that work?
Ma'am, what happened to you? I got maced.
You got maced. And what happened? You were trying to go inside the Capitol?
I made it like a foot inside, and they pushed me out, and they maced me.
What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Elizabeth. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee.
And why did you want to go in?
We're storming the Capitol. It's a revolution.
It's a revolution. What does that even mean?
I bet she did. I bet she didn't even know why. Like, I bet most of the people who went into the Capitol don't even know why they did it. Because, like, it's a revolution. What did they do? They stole a podium, a laptop, and then a guy with a buffalo on his head was dancing in the Senate wing.
Yeah,
and
it's just such a beautiful.
You better free your mind instead.
Yeah, they're
I am
storming
so
a government building, and they don't think that security is going to push back a little bit.
Yeah, they're lucky they didn't get shot. All of them.
Yeah,
Dude, I just hope after this, the Proud Boys are finally recognized as a fucking terrorist organization.
They will be.
Because, like, this is like domestic terrorism.
Well, at this point,
That's exactly what it is.
I think we're at the point where we need to recognize the Republican Party as a terrorist organization. And no, I'm not being hyperbolic about it.
They've allowed themselves to become one. They harbor all these different groups, all these hate groups.
Donald Trump has made being a white supremacist okay. Like,
I think we give him too much credit, though. He's a puppet on strings, you know.
No, I would
he's
say
being told what to say. He's not smart enough to. If you read his speeches, if you analyze what he's saying, he is not smart enough to put those words in the place where they are. He's not. He's being told what to say.
But like, if we don't go on the assumption of that, and we just like look at like what's going on, the Donald Trump presidency has made being a white nationalist, a white supremacist, a bigot, it made it being okay, right? And like, these people have always existed. It's not like Donald Trump invented racism, right? These people have always existed, but now they're like freely walking in the streets.
Yeah, he was telling them it's okay to be public about it.
You know, when he says things, he's inciting violence. Like, most of the time when he tweets, you know, and I'm glad he's banned from Twitter, like, he just incites violence and riots.
I agree, but we have to also put blame on the people who actually. Donald Trump is just telling people what to do, and there's people who are actually acting out on that.
I'm not saying there's no accountability. I'm just saying inciting violence, like, is, you know, like, yes, it was the individuals who carried out what Donald Trump asked of them, but he still asked it of them, you know?
Well, and with the Capitol insurrection, there are several members of the Congress who need to be brought up on charges of aiding the enemy.
Who is that? Yeah. That one, I don't know her name, but she's the discount Sarah Palin.
Lauren Babbitt.
Why is she not in prison?
I have no idea.
Yeah, because even as the security guards were trying to keep them safe, she kept tweeting out their location.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally aiding domestic terrorism.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I hope that
she should be in prison for helping the terrorists.
If I was Biden, I would turn around, smile in everybody's face, and arrest half the cabinet, North Korea style. Well, not half his cabinet. You know, I would arrest certain people.
Yeah.
I would go after certain real fast and real quick. Even Moscow Mitch over there, you know, all of them. They were all kind of complicit in letting Donald Trump just go rapid on this country.
I wish I had some alcohol here because this is a fun discussion. I'm out of water. I'll be right back, yo.
I know what I want.
Yeah, well, Mitch is good at being an obstructionist.
Which is why I'm so happy he is no longer Senate Majority Leader.
They openly.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm coughing.
No, I posit that Mitch McConnell has done more single-handedly to harm our democracy than anyone else. The amount of partisan that he instituted, the obstructionism, his graveyard, the fact that he essentially protected Trump and gave him carte blanche to shit all over our Constitution. He remained silent about the insurrection until just before Trump leaves office, wouldn't bring the Senate back early to actually try to get the impeachment done before he left office.
That had me screaming at the television. When I heard that had me screaming at the TV.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, that Mitch has been smart enough to keep most of his stuff quiet, so that the only thing you saw in public was that he just blocked things from happening. So it's hard to, convict him of having actually done anything. It is usually his lack of action that was the problem.
Can't we just deport him for lack of action then? Can't we just kick him out?
I wish that there were a charge of, say, dereliction of duty or something like that.
Exactly.
Well, actually, there is, for a member of Congress not performing the duties of their office at minimum is grounds for removing them from office.
Can't we treat him like a deserter in the Victorian times? where you were dealt with on site. You were dealt with on site.
Or in the Georgian era where every other offense was punishable by death.
Exactly.
I found the beer, so we're gonna have some beer while we talk about this fun stuff.
And I think that's my biggest problem of all of it is the double standard and not having accountability. As a person of color, still you haven't called me racist yet.
Racist.
As a person of color, it is hard to watch the footage of the insurrection because if you guys want to go back, there's footage of a Trump rally here in LA where the LAPD are beating the people who are against the Trumpers because they outnumber the Trumpers 10-1.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you compare the Capitol insurrection with the Black Lives Matter protest that was on that same grounds in June.
Exactly.
And just see the way that the police reacted to the two groups of protesters.
That's what I'm saying. So that makes me physically ill, and I can't even watch the footage anymore.
Yeah, because we are talking about the same police forces involved.
Double standard.
So you can't tell me that, there isn't a bias there.
A blatant, obvious one.
You've got a lot of work ahead of you now. I mean, if you really want to do something, there's a great deal of work to be done in removing the white supremacists, that whole crowd, from the various military and paramilitary organizations, or at least identify them.
I mean, some, if not a good chunk of the ex-military that are in these hate groups fall into these hate groups after they leave the military because they're looking for a community, right?
It's disenfranchised people. We no longer have a society that includes each other. So people fall. Mass movements scoop up people who need that in their life, who need a fulfillment. It's like, it's like just like the talk we're going to have tomorrow about non-religious atheists. People, they feel like they need to be special. They need to be a part of something.
More than just that. I mean, the military, they break you down and remold you in the image of what they want. And these people look to leaders. They look to a chain of command. And unfortunately, these militia groups, paramilitary groups, terrorist groups, they have, a paramilitary type structure, and it can feel familiar and comforting to those that, look to leadership, for, lack of better phrasing.
Yeah.
Also, baby Yodes.
Aww. I come from a different perspective because I've kind of always been an outsider, and I've always done things by myself. So it's strange to me. Aww.
So there's this meme I think I talked about on Neil's show where it's like it's a Star Wars meme and they're like, I can't believe they added Gloop Shido to Star Wars. And like it's a picture of Baby Yoda. And so my friend's mom got a Baby Yoda doll. It's like life size and he named it Gloop Shido. I'm sorry, it's probably not that funny. It's just I don't know. I got a stupid sense of humor.
Poor
There's nothing.
Grogu.
There's
Poor
nothing
baby
wrong with
Grogu.
that, nerdy. There's nothing wrong with being an agnostic religious atheist. I'm more of a nihilist because my brain shut off. So I truly believe there's nothing beyond. But I respect all beliefs.
I may be agnostic. I don't really know.
I always, let's say I was an atheist, but I always held out hope. And then when my brain shut off, I was like, ooh, this is kind of the proof. It was the proof I was looking for. But, somebody could be put in the same situation and have a completely different outcome and a completely different way of looking at things. And I don't doubt other people's stories, Well,
Diana and I had been talking about that, about being under anesthetic for surgery.
Yeah.
About just that, you go down and you come out of it and you're not aware of any time having passed, but, you can see the world around you continued.
Yeah. And I mean, that's going to be a really interesting thing. And yeah, I probably spill all the beans, save some of it for a video if I ever get around to filming it. But the reason that I've come to the conclusion, the reason I know that I was under anesthesia twice was that there was awareness.
Mm-hmm.
There was awareness, but there was a discontinuity between the two. And it's like, okay, there must have. Now, when I'm dead, which as far as I know isn't that far into the future, I have to wrap my head around it now, where I'm not going to know anything because there's going to be no me to know anything. And that there was the oblivion only because you came out of it. So, there's no coming out of the oblivion. You're fucking dead.
And that's my thing. When I did come back, I was kind of crushed because I was holding out this hope, for something. But, like I said, my experience is kind of something that happened to me. And I would never doubt somebody else's experience or devalue them,
What I am afraid of, and I am afraid of this, is that there will be trauma at the transition between awareness and non-awareness.
Yeah.
Me too. I completely 101. I think about that all the time because I'm probably gonna pass from something that I've ate, drank, or smoked in my life because I have terrible habits. And my pops died of a heart attack, and I know it's just gonna be like that one day. It's just gonna be like blink and I'm gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The being dead part isn't the problem. It's the transition in between that. How much fear and panic is going to be involved in that transition?
Oh yeah.
I mean, so I never died, but I have been dying at one point in time, I guess, was a way to say that. I almost died. And it was painful. It was really painful. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that when I die because I don't know what other venues of dying is like, but the one that I experienced was quite bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's something I think about even more than like what I'll leave behind or my legacy or anything like that. It's the moment and the pain,
Yeah.
But no, maybe I shouldn't say that. Never mind.
I mean,
Maybe you should. I don't know.
No, I was gonna say something.
We're about to say that Diana Clarion is the greatest person in all the world.
Ever.
That might make Jen jealous.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll cut it in anyways. We'll make a video of it anyways. It's one of those. I'll tell you though. When I it's one of the, I always say it's my Spock answer when people ask me about dying. I'm always like, well, it kind of has to happen to you, and it reminds me in the fourth movie when McCoy looks at him and he's like, "You mean I have to die to understand what you're saying?" But it's
nerdy.
It's one of those things.
It's just like not waking up in the morning.
Exactly.
Well, this goes if you follow reincarnation.
Yeah. And sorry, but if I can't accept the Christian reincarnation, I don't think I can accept any of them.
I don't know. I think if there is an afterlife, reincarnation makes the most sense to me because it's just the universe reusing whatever was left over.
I agree, but how would you know? That's my thing.
Well, that's the thing is that, were there a reincarnation, you couldn't know. Because the old you you'd have to be able to carry something from the old you to the new you, but there's no vehicle with which to do it.
My whole thing is, right, if reincarnation exists, what the hell did I do in my past life to be suffering from all these mental illnesses?
There you go. Yeah,
I must have pissed someone off really badly if they made me trans in my next life.
I agree. I was born sick. I was born sick, so I completely agree. That's what got me off of religion at such a young age, because I realized that I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for medical intervention. If it wasn't for breathing machines and inhalers and doctors who cared enough to teach me how to breathe as a child.
I would have. Interesting thing, Jen, that you say about what did I do to deserve all this, and you hear the people who are accusing us queers of recruiting the kids and all this other holy shit. I would not wish this on any kid. Okay,
of course not.
I really wish that I could be cis. Whatever it is, I don't care. Be a guy, be a girl, whatever the fuck. I just want there to be no disparity. And unfortunately, I'm not lucky enough to get that.
Yeah, I mean,
did that one already?
I live in Florida, right? So, it's pretty far south, and coming out as trans is scary. I feel bad for people who are questioning their gender identity in a place that they really can't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nerdy. It's amazing, isn't it? It's almost as if minds are an emergent property of brains. I mean, think of it, man.
I love Nerdy Rodent.
Absolutely. I love Nerdy Rodent too.
I love that sort of thing. I wanted a lab. I took a degree in neuroscience. I wanted a PhD, and unfortunately, I came apart. I wanted to study affective disorders, depression, bipolar, that sort of thing. Guess what took me out?
I do that a lot. I read a lot about the effect of drugs on people and what it does to your brain, and what the real effects that it does to your brain, because when you mess with the chemical levels of your body, you have to question yourself sometimes, is this a false emotion or is this a real emotion? And sometimes I have to question myself, is this because I took too much acid in high school, or is this
I can see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I think drug therapy and research into that might yield some results. I noticed that back before I was taking meds for my type 2 manic depression or bipolar disorder, I'll just say bipolar.
Okay.
Before I was taking meds, I was a lot more stable when I smoked weed than when I wasn't smoking weed. And I do medical now every now and then, but it's I think it helps. And I think research into, I wouldn't say all drugs, because there are a lot of damaging drugs out there, right, to the neurochemistry. But like,
I would say like taking acid once with proper guidance would be awesome, or even taking mushroom once.
I've taken mushrooms before.
I went to Arizona and got peyote shot up my nose, and I thought that 3 hours had passed and it had been 2 days.
Okay, okay. The whole
But
time.
I was in a place where I was in a safe place with people like who were walking us around, making sure we had water. You know, after it got shot up my nose, they were like checking on us, making sure that they were basically making sure we didn't die.
Honey, why are you eating my headphone cable? Huh? Damn cat.
Because your foot phone is cordless?
I think so. I think. That's one thing I want to see if I can't get to work, but I'd like to see if I couldn't get earpieces, you know, the Bluetooth stuff, and have the yoke and then the ear things. But the Bluetooth on this Linux system is touch and go. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The only problem with that is the Windows system doesn't work at all.
I haven't had much success with Bluetooth.
Oh yeah, that is. I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a cordless headset and it never seems to work properly.
I'm so glad you said that, Perp, because I feel like I'm doing something wrong with wireless technology. I have all this cool stuff and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I recently feel like I broke a wireless microphone, but I think it's just the hookup on my speakers.
Okay. Yeah, because I've got the headset here. That's a Bluetooth headset. And then I've got the, what do they call it? A dongle?
Yeah.
This sort of T-shaped.
Yep.
Just, damn it.
Yeah, actually, Diane, I think you've got the same headset I do. The same cordless headset from Logitech.
Oh, no, this one is from a place called
sorry,
JBL.
Oh, okay. You got a different one.
Sloth Girl and I are in the Vampire Club. She said I was clinically dead twice in 2019.
Yep.
So we're both in the Vampire Club.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never died, but I'm slowly dying because of my bradycardia. Can I be in the Vampire Club?
Hey, why not? Why not?
I was with her there at the hospital. That she had such a bad rhythm of the heart that they decided the only way that they could get a normal beat again was to actually stop her heart and restart it.
They were thinking of putting a pacemaker in me, which would have really fucked up my life because you can't be a welder and have a pacemaker.
Nope.
Right.
Because the radiation will literally stop your pacemaker. So, I mean, thankfully, my heart rate can rise naturally if I work out. But like at resting, it's like 38 beats per minute.
I'd like to know, though, is if you have a room full of people with a abnormally slow heartbeat, would that be a Brady Bunch?
I
hate
that. I have the opposite problem with my heart rate. My resting heart rate is 90 plus. And part of it is because I'm always in so much pain. Like I deal with chronic pain, and that is the one symptom of pain that you can't fake is your heart rate and your blood pressure go up. And because I'm in pain every minute of the day, I, have pre-hypertension and a very, very fast heart rate because of it. And it sucks.
That's like my lung capacity. I don't think I would know what to do with with two working lungs. I don't know. I don't know how. I would not know how to act if I was breathing normally, because I've always kind of been short of breath my entire life.
The scary thing about COVID, I have a friend, and I have known this girl since elementary school. In fact, she was my neighbor 2 doors down, and her mother was why I almost became a Buddhist, because her mother was Buddhist, and oh man, I miss her. She was like a second mom to me. And my friend ended up getting COVID, and she was healthy, like rock climbing, surfer. Like, she honestly should have grown up in SoCal with how this girl is, like, just so active. And now, like, there are days that she can't even walk to the mailbox because she can't breathe.
Oh, that
And this is
sucks.
months after COVID. It crashed her lungs.
That's something that like never gets brought up in statistics. Like when you talk about, oh, only 1% of people who get it die, or I forget the statistic, right? But it's like, yeah, like 1% of people die, but a lot of people get hospitalized and have lasting, like, serious detrimental effects on their life because of COVID. And it's like, you know, you can rationalize, oh, only a small amount of people die who get it. Yeah, but like big numbers, a lot of people are dying, and you know, a lot of people are getting irreparably ill, right? So it's like,
and something they've discovered in the last couple of months is that some people who were completely asymptomatic, never realized they had COVID, are being hospitalized now because it has left scarring of the heart and arteries.
I was just about to say that's what leads to a heart attack. That is, like, in an asthmatic, that's the biggest worry, because I have a lower immune system, and one thing will lead to another, and I can't breathe, and all of a sudden my heart, I get heart palpitations all the time. You know,
since they're finding this in people who were completely asymptomatic, they have absolutely no way to guess how many people this is happening to.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the other one I've read recently is that there is a suspicion that COVID causes some psychiatric conditions as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
at this point, but
imagine having to function and not being able to breathe.
Yeah.
So as an asthmatic, I reach a point where I either have to choose to talk or breathe sometimes. And it's anxiety. It is the definition of anxiety when you can't breathe. Lack of oxygen will make you you'll make bad decisions when you have lack of oxygen.
I used to have really bad asthma, and what sucks is my dad would always try to get me to do sports, which, like, doing sports as an asthmatic is really difficult.
Absolutely.
And like, I mean, I wear all black, so it's hard to tell, but I'm a little bit overweight. I've always been overweight. Like, I mean, I think I have a BMI of like 30 for context. So I'm like just at obese.
okay.
Like,
I was going to ask where that was on the scale.
Yeah, it's not like morbidly obese, right? It's just like at the lower scale of being obese. And so, you know, like having asthma and running while being overweight as a kid is fucking abysmal. And like, you know, I'm glad that I got out of it, but I'm sorry to hear that you're still stuck with asthma.
I'm a born asthmatic. Like, I when I was born, I was in an incubator for 8 months because my lungs couldn't hang, and I was full term and everything. I'm just one of those people that was born with crappy lungs, and then under my own. I smoked for 20 years. So I always tell people, like, don't feel sorry for me because I did it to myself. I could have had a semi-normal life, but I got hooked on cigarettes at a very young age. And so I just, you know, it's insane as an asthmatic that I smoked for 20 years.
It's really hard to quit smoking cigarettes. I've tried 5 times.
Like I said, it was the toughest drug I've ever walked away from. Hands down. Nicotine was the most addictive drug I've ever come across in my life.
Yeah.
Well, I would have hoped to go out on a lighter note, but we've been going 3.5 hours, and I'm feeling rather fatigued, and I've got to get something done today.
It does not seem like it's been that long.
I know.
Yeah,
I gotta.
I might start streaming on my channel if y'all are down to continue.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's go around. And does anybody have anything they want to shill? Any appearances in the next week or so?
Well, tomorrow on Jen's little on Jen's channel on Jen Little Corner, we're having a discussion about, is atheism a religion?
Discussion.
Or do people treat atheism as a religion? And we're having the non-controversial Steve McRae and the non-controversial SJ. The atheist pastor will be there as well, and Same Chaos, and the beautiful and lovely Jen from Jen's Little Corner will be there, and it'll be on Jen's channel, and we're gonna have a discussion, and our chat will be a complete dumpster fire, but we're not gonna have one. It's gonna be more of a discussion. So it'll be tomorrow, 7 o'clock Pacific Coast time, because I'm on the West Coast, 10 o'clock East Coast time.
Yep.
Tomorrow evening.
Yeah,
okay. And there's Amiga Nuts with Jen's links. And
Thank
the
you.
channel and Twitter links for everyone who appeared at any point in the show are in the description here.
Thank you. So it'll be a complete dumpster fire. Come on down. Everybody, come on down.
I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have McRae and SJ on there at the same time, that could be nothing but a dumpster fire.
I'm just gonna open. Honestly, I'm gonna be there to moderate. I'm gonna keep my eye on the chat. I'm gonna I started it, so I'm gonna spout my opinion, and I'm gonna let everybody kick it around. And and if you disagree with me, you can come kick me around. I encourage inquiry and debate. So,
I don't know if I'd want to eat a marshmallow roasted over a dumpster fire, though. So girl, just saying, some toxic fumes. Probably not too tasty or healthy.
Oh, talk about toxic. Oh, it's gonna be great. This is gonna be great.
Nuts roasting on a dumpster fire. I don't know.
Love that. I love you.
I've already got some hate DMs. Like I'm ready.
Wait, you got hate DMs?
I'm relatively new to the community, so I think even bringing up the fact, because Jen comes from the standpoint that it's not, and I come from the standpoint that some people treat it as such. So the debate started with us, and it just kind of melded into, well, let's have a show about it, So it's going to be interesting because we don't agree. We don't agree with each other.
So I just put a link to the stream that I'm gonna do after this stream. Right.
Awesome.
So y'all can join me. I'm gonna put in the private chat the link to the StreamYards.
Okay.
And as far as shouting things out, if I can have a go at it, I'm gonna be on a D&D show with Mikey Famine, Jonathan Dishonest Ape, and Aisala. And David is the producer, Zant. And so it's going to be super fun. It's called Nat 1 Heroes. If you look it up on YouTube, it's with the number 1. If you look it up on Twitch, it's spelled out ONE. And we're on Twitter at Natural 1 Heroes. Yeah,
awesome.
That's me.
David's a nice guy.
Let's see, there's my usual Coffee with Lavender Sunday at noon Eastern, and the open chat Tuesday at 7 Eastern, where Mom NATO, Bionic Dance, and myself talk about pretty much anything. And we'll go for about 6 hours on whatever we can think of. And I'm not kidding about the 6 hours. We just did 6 hours last night.
No, you're not. You're not.
When are you having me on your show, huh?
Okay. we're gonna have to. I am following you on the Twatters, right?
You might be.
I'll have to take a look, and then we can send you off a.
I just remembered. I sent you a thing for transgender chef or transgender cooking or whatever it's called.
You did send me a thing. Yes, you did.
Yeah. Instead of crediting Dead City, since that channel's dead, just call me Genesis Undead.
Awesome. Oh, and I'm stealing Twatters, by the way.
Yeah,
I like
that is
that.
so good.
I stole it.
That's gold. That is gold. On the Twatters.
Okay, Kitty, where did they find you?
Well, I'm mostly on Twitter. I do make appearances, here and there, like with Godless Granny or recently with Jen. But I haven't started making my own content yet. Like my spare time, I've been focused on sewing after my short sabbatical because I literally got really depressed around the holidays. I was sick and depressed, and seeing the numbers going up, feeling like, I was doing fuck all. Didn't matter. I'd sewed and given away hundreds of masks. Like, it just is a little disheartening. So I needed to take a little break from that and get caught up on video games that I got for my birthday. But other than that, I'll chill for everybody that was here, like and subscribe to Perp and go check out everybody else's content. They're all lovely people. Go enjoy the dumpster fire on Jen's channel tomorrow.
And then after that, we'll
lovely people come see us on YouTube.
Okay, and Stool, you have anything lined up?
I'm just planning Will's funeral.
Tell lies.
I don't know why you're doing this. I mean,
I'm a Sado. I'm a born Sado.
You're a racist. You're just a racist.
Well, I was getting all ready for your trip down to Australia. I was making you a pair of Velcro boots so you wouldn't fall off.
I'll still need them. Instead of flying there, I'm just going to get booted there like the old cartoons.
Okay, and in 32 hours, I'll be back with my midnight show.
For those of you who just can't seem to get enough of Purple, there he is again.
We'll be invading that too.
Oh my.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much just whoever winds up showing up. Nobody is committed to actually being there.
I will. I might need I might need counseling. You might have to be my counselor tomorrow. I might be curled up in the fetal position.
We can do that.
Why are you doing this? It's going to end in bad things. It's going to be bad.
More or less, it's just other people. I'm not worried about the crowd. It's the people. I've already encountered some super strange people already.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if I'm strong enough to watch that.
We're gonna need some people with wrenches because it's gonna be the chat is gonna be you're gonna be able to see it from the space station. You're gonna be able to see the dumpster fire from the space station.
I might just pop on by and remind SJ that because I'm from Europe, I have sex with the donkeys.
See, that's a way better note to end on. See, Purple, that's a way better note to end on.
Crazy bitch. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I've largely gotten through this far by SJ and Steve not really knowing who I am.
Like I said,
and I would prefer to keep it that way, really.
They are divisive. Just know that you might not be able to have Matt Dillahunty on Jen's channel.
That's okay. Oh, that's okay. That I'm completely okay with. I'm 100% okay with that.
And in making us pop right there for Godless Granny. Anyone who's not familiar with her really should check out her channel.
Yes, Godless Granny
Absolutely.
is amazing. I've had the privilege of being able to be on her channel a few times, and yeah. I adore her.
She's only been around for a couple of months, but she's really going somewhere with this.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I will again thank my patrons, the Lavender Lady here, and Greg Hartwick, and Mikey Famine. Basically, they are paying for StreamYards now.
Awesome.
So, and with that, we will bid you all adieu. Bye-bye, everybody.